All systems nominal.
それでは早速全速前進
You wanna know what the weak point of a mech is? The fucking pilot.
Get away from her, you bitch!
His papers say he was a raven.
Protocol 3.
A pattern blue!
Welcome to On the Shoulders of Giants, a giant robot power hour discussing mechs across media, their stories, and why we love them. I'm Nico, and I'm joined by Alice.
Proper etiquette for when you meet the God Emperor is to get him hooked on drugs and then say, I'm the one who's going to be on top. And I think that that's a very important etiquette lesson.
Yeah, it's very true. And Brian.
I'm on top of the world. There's gay sex. That's it. That's all I have.
Gay sex is real. We did it.
Gay sex confirmed for real. This time around, we're discussing how thruples that slay together stay together. Well, mostly. Iron Widow Part 2. Let's launch into it. So we are back once again with Iron Widow, the second part of it. Again, this was written in 2021 by Sharon J. Zhao, and this book is the first in the series. Book 2, Heavenly Tyrant, is set to release as of recording on April 30th this year. Last time we covered what y'all knew about it, so how are we feeling, without spoilers, how are we feeling after the end of this book?
I don't know how I feel about this.
Yeah.
If I'm being real. Brian, what about you?
I'm like really, there are, especially as the book winds down, there are a lot of back-to-back moments where I'm like, I really wish that they had not been capped on word count and page count the way that they had.
I think we can all agree on that.
This needed to have been a much longer novel.
Yeah.
Is like my main kind of vibe. However, everything whipped so much ass. Like, I kept having the thought, man, I wish I kept being like, man, I wish this had time to breathe. However, my heart rate.
It was a very quick read getting through part 4. Part 4 flew by.
It's breakneck.
Which is insane. Y'all will learn why it's insane if you have not already read this book, which I will say again, this episode will spoil the absolute shit out of the end of this book. Like, my summary will cover it. So if you want to go in with no knowledge, pause this podcast, go pick it up from your local bookshop or the local library. But yeah, no, the second half of this book, a lot fucking happens in it. Like, an insane... I was trying to write the summary and I was like, oh god, I forgot this. And I finally just had to be like, okay, we will discuss it in the second half. Like, I just don't need to worry about it for the summary. There's just too much.
What happens in the second half of this novel?
Okay.
Yeah, this fucking breakneck second half of this novel.
Yeah. Are y'all ready for this?
Yeah, I'm like, I have to... Wait, let me put my neck guard on so I don't get whiplash.
Well, in part 1 of Iron Widow, we were introduced to the nation of Washa, which is regularly attacked by bug-like alien monsters called Huanduans. Under the direction of the mysterious gods of the Heavenly Council that rules over it, Washa has recovered from a cataclysmic historical attack and learned to harvest the bodies of defeated Huanduans to create giant fighting mechs called chrysalises. In part 1, we were introduced to our main characters as well. Wu Zetian, a powerful female pilot bent on revenge, Gao Yiji, her childhood friend turned strategist, and Li Shiming, a convict and pilot of the most powerful chrysalis Washa's army fields. In the last part, Zetian and Shiming had proven a pairing in the cockpit of the Vermillion Bird so strong the army feared them and tried to take them off the board. Thanks to a timely intervention and chi donation by Iju, they survived a battle they were meant to die in. So with this new acclaim, the three head to the nation's capital to consolidate power. Zetian and Iju became lovers, as she and Shuming are put through a publicity gauntlet and the faux marriage of a match crowning. This pushes Zetian to discuss feelings with Shuming and also take him to bed. Memory transference between the two pilots and suspicions about the entire piloting structure come to a head, and Zetian and Shuming torturing a shocking truth out of Shuming's old military handler. The physical seats in chrysalises are unequal, constructed to use the pilot in the yin seat as a chi battery and giving all the power to the yang seat. This means that the system is inherently biased against women who actually have to have stronger spirit pressure than their male co-pilot to even survive. Zetian and Shuming return to Iju with this knowledge and commit to using their fame and influence after leading the mission to retake the Lost Zhou province to change this system. Shuming and Iju also acknowledge feelings for each other, completing the Iron Triangle, as it is called by fans and I believe the author as well. All three strap into the Vermillion Bird when the army offensive begins, charging into battle against Emperor-class Hunduans nesting by a volcano associated with the myth of the Lost Emperor and his yellow dragon Chrysalis. During the battle, they defeat one of the Emperor Hunduans, but their triumph is short-lived as their supposed allies in the Black Tortoise turn on them. Shuming makes the choice to eject Zetian and Iju, and dies buying them time to escape. With no better plan, Zetian frantically seeks out the Lost Emperor and successfully revives him, piloting his yellow dragon from the Yang seat so his spirit pressure doesn't kill her. They handily finish the Hunduan battle and turn towards the capital of Chang'an, where Zetian uses sheer force of power to destroy the country's leadership and declare herself Empress Wu. Her new reign gets off to a rocky start as she receives 2 world-shattering calls. Iju has recovered information that proves humans were colonists on this world, and the Hunduans are the native species. And the Heavenly Council demands she bow to them, or they won't do something only they can do: revive Shuming. And that's what happened in part 2 of Iron Widow.
They got him in a back to tank, y'all. Oh my god.
They got him in the back to tank.
That epilogue.
All right, and with that, we're going to head to our first break. Hey, Nico here in the break. Just wanted to let you know that while this is a podcast, and we'll always do our best to describe visuals we're commenting on, we'll also include links to the mechs and images we discuss in the show notes, and post actual photos on our show website. Along with that, make sure to check the show notes for content warnings as appropriate to the episode. That's all for now. Back to the show. Well, as before, I've broken down the book into 4 sections because this book part was not very long.
Had a lot, not very long.
Yeah. And
very short chapters in this.
Yeah.
You can really tell where the word economy had to be very tight.
Yeah.
And I think it was an interesting choice to leave so much on the first half, because then I feel like that actually allowed Sheeran, like, obviously we would have wanted more word and more word.
More word!
Yeah. We would have wanted more word of God, but unfortunately.
I think, so,
Go.
The whole time I was thinking, oh, this is a webcomic. This is just a webcomic. Season 1 is the 60 chapters, and it's all about our 3 romantic interests just getting together. Like, that's the whole first part of it, is the build-up that takes for fucking ever until they, like, kiss and fuck. And then the second season is only 40 chapters, and we gotta do all of the plot. All of it.
Yeah, I do think... I mean, Brian, feel free to chime in. I do think it was important to leave more of the meat on the bone in the first half so that the gut punches of the second half actually land. I just hate that we get them consecutively with no break.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the pacing is a little bit wobbly here because this is actually where we do a lot of like the this is what the capital looks like. This is going to be the longest stretch of like things happening that aren't a mech battle or like weird political murder standoff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we leap headfirst into like absolute nonstop gut punches, which is just like it feels like building a house on a toothpick. You know what I mean? It wasn't ideal for me, but however, I did really, again, I keep having this thought, and then like everything that is actually content in the text of the narrative is like so unbelievably badass that I'm just like, okay, well,
good.
Yeah.
What is, so the entire contents of this book occur over the span of like 2 months, maybe?
I don't know. I legitimately don't know, because there's the time that she spent in prison, and then they spent,
but she
like,
was only
4
in prison long enough for her to recharge.
Yeah, but then they were training for a while, and then, yeah, but I legitimately
I know
don't
part of it
is
is like, yeah, she doesn't have a sense of time, but...
If you told me this all took place within 2 months, I would believe it, and also... Considering that this book is very anime-inspired, I would not be shocked, because a lot of shit happens in 2 weeks in most anime. But yeah, where we pick back up, Zetian and Shuming are starting to have like memory transference. When Zetian is dreaming, she is starting to remember some of Shuming's memories.
Mm-hmm. They're bad.
Yeah, they're bad. Let me tell you, y'all. This boy, it's weird. Weirdly enough, the boy who like did prize fighting so that he could maintain a scholarship to stay in school and ruined his eyes trying to study in a dim locker room and then killed his family because they did a gang rape and then went to prison and then was badly abused and then was given an addiction. Doesn't have a lot of good memories. Weirdly enough.
Is this where we learned that he was forcefully made to drink, or is that later?
That's later.
That's the second sequence of the dream transference, but that is how we find
That's the second drift, yeah.
Fucked up.
But do you ever wake up and your two boyfriends are embracing?
I did love that.
Yeah, they're leaning on each other. That's right. It's incredibly
No,
fucking cute.
they're leaning on each other and they're holding hands.
They are.
Yeah.
Which, again, in Asian cultures, it's not completely homosexual to hold the hand of
No,
another
you're
man.
right, but this is.
But this is very
this
homo.
is.
Yeah.
Specifically, this is incredibly gay. Yeah, and I love because they do like jump apart when they jump up to like take care of her, and it's like, oh, y'all could just hang. It's fine.
Who tops in the relationship?
It's a triangle. I don't think we need to delineate.
I mean, in the triangle, we know Wu Zetian tops both of them, but
just say, well, we know Zetian is on the top of the triangle.
I feel like Shuming is a service bottom.
You know what? I could believe it. He wants to spend some time in the yin seat, if you know what I'm saying. This is wretched. Okay.
So are you a yin seat or a yang seat? That's what I'm gonna start asking
Walks up
people.
to a gay couple who is in there.
Who has green laser?
So like, which one of you?
Which one of you is societally disadvantaged? Okay.
Which one of you has Plo Koon's Force Lightning?
But yeah, the three, they've survived the battle they were supposed to die in, and that battle is a huge linchpin in their whole plan to consolidate power. Iju's dad, Gaucho, his like whole thing was like, okay, survive the next one and we'll see about making you into celebrities. And they lived, so like the next thing they gotta do is jet off to the capital of Chang'an to strike a deal with Iju's slimy ass dad.
This was so funny to me because Gaucho has basically the worst plan ever. Like, he doesn't understand Zetian at all. And it's really funny because his plan is basically to use a video of... he basically has nudes of her that he will release if she does something unkin to what he wants, right?
Yeah.
Right?
And she's just like, briefly she's like, this sucks. But then she's like, wait, what if I don't give a shit? Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. Like...
It's really interesting. They arrive at the capital, and I don't know that this is the first time that Zetian has been to the capital. I think, no, I believe it actually is. So
it is.
This is the first time Zetian is seeing the capital, and there's a really cool world building thing that Sheeran does like very like concisely in giving you an idea of what a blend of like high tech but ancient China inspired would look like in terms of like the capital. Cause like you've got the density you would think of with like a large Chinese city, but like there's old style architecture, but people have tablets, but like it's this really cool blend of stuff. But they land at Gaucho's huge manor and it's gaudy as fuck. I could not, obviously it's an obvious reference point, but I could not stop thinking of Crazy Rich Asians. Which is like, we need fireworks. It's a Tuesday. Like,
yeah, that's a good ass
granted,
movie.
It's a Tuesday.
BTW.
They were flying in, but
the fact that his palace is as ostentatious as the sage's palace.
yes.
And she points out too, it's like suspiciously like not even just as fancy, but also like a replica in a weird like snotty way.
Built as high up on the mountain as it
Yeah.
looks like it, but cooler with fireworks and
legitimately cooler.
hookers.
Yeah, there's this whole funny sequence where like a whole bunch of maidservants come and they greet Iju. And Zetian, who is in a wheelchair for most of this sequence because, hey, did we forget last time she not only does she have lotus feet, not only are her feet broken, she got shot.
She got shot. You ever get shot?
She got fucking smashed to pieces.
You ever get shot and you literally can't use your legs for the rest of the novel for some reason? Anyway,
Well,
don't know
no.
where she got shot.
No, she got pretty badly injured. I think I did like the fact that, like, you know, in the first part of this book, she's using a cane as an assistive device. She really doesn't like having to lean on people because that was kind of the whole point of them breaking her feet, was that she would have to rely on people to move around. And then she gets a wheelchair, which I actually really appreciated.
Motorized wheelchair, by the way.
Motorized wheelchair. She's zooming. Catches Etienne on the street corner running down pedestrians.
For real. She would. I mean, so, like, basically the gist of this whole thing is she already had this kind of plan where she was going to use Yija's dad as a media mogul to kind of paint them as someone who could generate. Basically, my note is, do you ever save your polycule by generating online discourse on purpose?
Basically, yeah, they have to be so spicy in the media that it would be more of a problem to kill them.
Yes.
It's really good. So they start doing photo shoots, but yeah, they sign on to a deal. There's a really tense moment where Gaucho wants to drink to signing the deal.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, people have different opinions on, like, going cold turkey sober, but clearly a lot of damage has been done to Shuming, and he does not need to be drinking. So
no,
part of the power play that Gaucho does is because Zetienne does a couple of different things to prevent Shuming from drinking and succeeds, but that does obviously, I think, piss Gaucho off, which is when he makes a slimy move of being like, okay, you can go, Shuming. We have something to discuss. If you want this deal to go through, you're going to read this thing naked on camera.
A part I loved about this scene, this whole scene is fucked up and very traumatic for different reasons. Not for Zetienne, of course, because
she's a girl boss who powers through.
She's so fucking broken as a person. That's a way to say that.
Yeah.
A kind of offhanded thing about Gaucho and his crime syndicate family is those maids are disposable. They are very much treating the handmaids in his house as disposable. And there's one in the room for this. And she has a full moment where she's like, I know she's not going to say shit because she'll just get fucking killed. Yeah. I can give him shit back only because I have the highest spirit pressure any woman has ever had, and I still have to kowtow to a man.
Yeah, it's really rough.
Just her constant, like, I am doing all of this to the end purpose of fucking this guy up. And she adds him to her list.
Her hit list.
By the way, she has a kill list.
Yeah. But I think it's a very real thing where it's like, she's been made to feel ashamed of her body every chance she gets. When she was at home, it was because she wasn't pretty enough. And then when she got pretty enough, it was about selling her off to become literally a concubine for a man who killed her sister. Like, her body has been nothing but a sight of shame and pain her whole life. And he's literally just trying to do the same playbook. And initially she starts to have the same response. And I think some people could read this as maybe kind of flippant that she has this, like, thought process and manages to power through. But I really do think this is a breakthrough moment because she realizes, like, the violence he's trying to do to her is all based in her own head on her idea of shame. And so this is a very real instance where, like, she's asserted a lot of power in the mind realms and in the yin-yang realm while piloting because there are no physical limitations. And it's like, well, thankfully, this is also a place where it's like, if you can get through your shame and emotions about this, you can just get this done and not worry about it. Don't worry, this tool will help us later.
And she realizes too that, like, this is all part of the what she wanted to do in the first place, which is she wanted to put herself in the public eye. And I think that this is a breakthrough moment also in terms of being like, oh, well, if I'm going to do that, then this whole, like, threatening me with shame is not going to work. But I also think it's interesting because we've gotten a lot of instances of Zetienne kind of clinically disposing of, like, parts of the full gamut of human experience in order to protect herself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When she earlier in the first part when she says, like, love cannot save me, I choose vengeance, like, that's like that same exact thing. And I think that it's really in character for her to just decide not to be affected by this in the moment. And
I do think it helps her as they go through because the next thing they do is a whole bunch of press and photo shoots where they're trying to sell a specific story, which is of this Iron Demon badass, which isn't hard because you basically just take away Shuming's glasses and he's like, because he's squinting to see everything. Though he did wear contacts, which was very funny. He's like, I hate contacts.
I want to talk about the photo shoots. I love the photo shoots because there's like a part where she's like, oh, they're, like, contorting my body and expecting me to do these expressions that are both evil and seductive and coming in. And Shiming just has to sit there.
Yeah.
That's it. All he has to do is sit there. So true. So true.
Yeah.
For me to get a good photo of myself, I have to contort myself in so many ways. I get it.
And I can just glower.
One of the fun and like interesting things about this is Etienne says like the photographers don't know what to do with her because they've been trained to just make like women look doughy and demure and like quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But these photo shoots are like super sexy and like BDSM with like full leather and whips sometimes. And like
He's holding his lead. Wait, no.
Yeah.
He's holding
her leash.
Yeah.
Because the whole image is supposed to be like, oh, Shiming is the only one who can keep her in control because her first public debut, if we recall, was throwing Yangguang's corpse in front of a drone and screaming, I am your nightmare.
Yeah. It's really, really good because I do think that's really good at understanding and being interested in like the ways in which state deployed imagery can like teach us how to think about the world. And like the whole thing about the being on the leash thing is it's reinforcing this bias against or concerning Zetienne that she's some sort of fox demon who, like, by the grace of Li Shimin, is not devouring every man in the capital right now. Like, you know what I mean? It's super cool in that way. This is just extremely, like, grounded in, again, the whole book, just, like, weird gender, sex stuff. It's great.
I do think it's interesting, too, because, like, Zetienne has to have basically a conversation with Shiming about, like, he's really embarrassed. Like, they're reviewing the photos, and he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry they made me do that. I'm so sorry. And she's like, we're playing a part. We're putting on a performance. Don't you know how to perform? Maybe gender?
Don't you know how
to perform gender? And Shiming's like, this sucks. I hate performing gender. Can we go home to eat you?
Do y'all have anything to say on like the match crowning ceremony? Because I kind of don't. It's cool, and that's what they did.
It's cool.
It's so contrived, and there's a lot of emotional stuff around this. Well, at the end of the first section is when Zetienne and Iju officially bang. Like, they had kind of expressed their romantic interest to each other in part one, but they sleep together, and then immediately
in Yiji's
after
room,
that,
where he has a skincare fridge, by the way.
He has a skincare fridge, guy of all time. I love Iju. Get you a man.
My man's got the routines.
And
Thank
he
you.
built Gunpla, and he was embarrassed to tell
I
her.
love that. He's like, I didn't want you to know I also build Gunpla.
Real quick. You know those videos, those TikTok videos, and it's always like a Korean or a Chinese woman, like, quote unquote, coming home from work, and then she just does a bunch of crazy shit with a bunch of household devices. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, like the things bought off Wish.
That's Yija. That's Yija. He comes home before Zetienne and Li Shimin, and he does a bunch of weird cleaning shit with a bunch of tiny trash cans.
I love that so much. He puts on like a weird eye mask and like some special heated slippers, and then, like, does a thing with a face mask. And Zetienne comes home and falls face down on the ground.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But yeah, immediately after they sleep together, Zetienne has a trauma dream of Shimin's about how he was given his addiction. They literally forced a tube down his throat and a funnel in his mouth to pour grain alcohol into him until he was so hopelessly addicted he would ask for it himself. That was how they dealt with his like refusal to pilot and not wanting to kill more girls. So that's really important. Also important is that they rush to his room, obviously, because both Zetienne wakes up and goes, damn, I just saw some fucked up shit about Shiming. And Iju is like, really? We gotta go now. We gotta go take care of my man. And unfortunately, that does just like immediately make it clear to Shiming that like they're together.
Oh, you're the third wheel, bud.
Yep. He's like, oh, I'm the third wheel. And then he has to go get fake married.
Yeah. There's like a moment where Li Shimin's freaking out and Zetienne like can't calm him down, and then Yija comes in and says like one word and he shuts up.
Yeah.
And Zetienne literally says, it's astonishing what Yija can do with a soft utterance that me with all of my strength can't. Oh, word?
Oh, it's so important.
Oh, it's so important to me. Anyway, yeah.
But yeah, so they have to prep. So this is an important part. To prep for the match crowning, they have to leave the capital, go back to the Great Wall, and get their spirit armor. Because previously, Zetienne and Shiming weren't allowed to travel with their spirit armor because it was a threat. But they need it for the match crowning, so they go to get it. And they also go to pick up pilots to be witnesses at their match crowning. These are the two other established balanced matches. The White Tiger, who it's really cute, like Zetian recounts, like, I remember watching their match crowning, and it was like the one she could feel good about because, you know, they were a balanced match, so the woman wasn't going to die.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, she'd never allowed her husband to have concubines. So she was like, wow, actually a relationship that is balanced.
Yeah, the I forgot his name. The male of the White Tiger relationship is like super racist also, which is just like,
Yeah, it's
oh my god. They're both him and Chilu are like assholes in like completely different directions in a way that's like, oh, it's that couple. It's that really annoying couple. Like, we saw you from across the bar and we hate your vibe.
well, I do think it's the male, and I forgot. This is really funny. I've done Misandry by accident in my list of characters for the podcast for us to check. I did not include the names of the male pilots of the White Tiger.
I think it's part of what I think this book does is there are 3 balanced pairs, and I'm most invested in the females of those pairs. Mm-hmm. And not just because our narrative is through Jitian. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like it's intentional that the men pilots are just men pilots doing men pilot things. Who gives a fucking shit?
But if I remember correctly, it's Ma Xiong's pilot in the Black Tortoise who's the one who's racist.
He's racist, because...
Dugu Chielo is wrong D.
Yeah.
Like Shumen. But yeah, so they pick them up because they're like, okay, we got to have people to attend our match crowning and all this stuff. And they end up stopping off to visit Zetian's family. And Zetian, like, as part of her deal of getting fame, Gaucho has, like, made the offer, like, I'll just move your family into the capital. Like, I got a place for him to stay, blah, blah, blah. And he's clearly meaning to use them as leverage. Right. Also misunderstanding Zetian because they are not really useful leverage. Until, unfortunately, they visit her family, and Zetian is pressured into kind of agreeing to set them up in Chang'an after a conversation with Xiao Ying, the female pilot of the Black Tortoise, who is like, listen, like, I know they all suck so bad, but, like, your mother and grandmother are going to suffer if you do anything against, you know, the family. They don't deserve to live here. And, like, maybe if they just had more resources, they wouldn't treat you like shit. So
literally, if they were out of poverty, their husbands wouldn't beat them.
Yeah.
You could help them get out of poverty. That's the only reason.
Yeah, and her mother has made, because her mom doesn't quite understand that a match crowning is not legitimately a wedding. Her mother has made her, like, a doll from her baby blanket that's supposed to be like for like her child, and like it's this weird moment of like
from your home.
Yeah, the dirt from your home. And yeah, like, I mean, it's this hard emotional moment because it's like her family has never treated her like anything but shit, but from her mom it's mostly been because she's terrified of her husband. And like she is susceptible in this moment, especially because Xiao Ying is the person who did not treat her like shit in the bath. That was Chielu. Chielu knocked her over in the bath. So she listens to her friend here.
Well, there were 2 conversations, Qiao Lo and Xiao Ying. Qiao Lo has the very pragmatic, I've been through this. I tried to help people who asked me for money from my extended family. I tried to be a good person.
Tried to save them from debt collectors.
Every single one took advantage of that. You need to fuck your family. Leave them here to rot.
Chielu really turns towards the camera and says, "This will be bad," and then leaves.
Chielu, it's like, it's really interesting because it's like, you get such a bad impression of her initially in the bath because she's like, stay away from my man, you know?
I do love that.
Yeah, but it's like, she's such an interesting character as the book goes on, and it's like, we'll say more kind of towards the end about the role she plays in the final battle, but it's really like your allies are not always the people who are the nicest to your face. You know, that's something to keep in mind. But anyways, she agrees to move her family to Chang'an, and they go back and they do the match crowning ceremony.
By the way, this is where I really started to feel the pacing. All of this happens in like 4 pages.
Yeah, that whole visit is like, oh, we're going to stop and do a photo shoot in your homeland. That's why we're stopping. And then that whole narrative happens, and then, and we're off.
And I mean, excellent work by Shirin J. Zhao to even like convey half of this emotion in that short of a page length. But like, yeah, I mean, you are really starting to feel it. Things are moving, and it's only going to get more from here. Yeah, so they go back, they do the match crowning. It's a big show-off ceremony. There's very little. I think to a certain extent it's very satisfying because they get to be cool and flashy, and like Shuming finally gets his crown and he's retroactively awarded his king status of the pilots.
King of pilots for the last 2 years. We'll give it to you now.
For the last 2 years, finally.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, one of the like two things I actually wanted to read from the book was from the conversation with Chilu.
Ready.
Yeah.
Because I just love when characters get to like, again, about face to the camera and be like, this is what I think about the world.
Yep.
Yes.
She says, people who refuse to break under any number of harsh strikes and any amount of loud words, but crumple as soon as someone touches us gently or speaks to us softly.
Oh.
Banger. Like, holy mother of God.
Oh, that's like my favorite type of character too. I was just like, no. Which is literally, it's like she's talking about Zetian, but that's literally also, we literally see that with Li Shuming and Iju. Because like Iju will touch him softly and he's just wrecked.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no.
Inconsolable.
It's very good.
I also had a Chilu quote from this section. This is one of my 2 quotes. So they're talking about it, and you should have taken your own advice, never appease, no one's respected for appeasing, blah, blah, blah. And so Zetian is like, why do you even care? And Shilu tells her entire character theory, which is, the entitled assholes of the world are sustained by girls who forgive too easily. And there's nothing I'd like to rid the world of more than entitled assholes. Except Hunduns, of course.
Yeah. See, that's your girl. I know it seemed like she wasn't your girl in the locker room initially, but that's your girl. That's your homie.
She's got the same theory as you, Zetian.
Yeah.
Like, right there, she just said it. Nope, I also want to kill entitled assholes.
Only thing I hate more than entitled assholes are these fucking aliens. Like, let's go. But yeah, the match crowning is super flashy. They do this whole bit, basically, where it's like, it looks like he's gonna use a really plain crown, and he's like, Shimon's like, he's been coached on acting this out, and he like makes it super flashy with his spirit pressure and everything.
Mm-hmm. This is the language that the affluent and the overly rich speak. They love the spectacle. Yeah. This is how to convey the message to them. Another thing that's funny during the crowning thing, Zetian briefly spots Yang Guang's cousin in the crowd, and she just says, I like him a lot better than his distant cousin who I killed. Like,
yeah.
Such a weird sentence, bro.
I think he's one of the male pilots. I think he's one of the match sets. Yeah.
He's one of he's the Headless, right?
My apologies to Min. No, that guy got taken off the board.
I forgot.
My apologies to Min for forgetting you, but...
Zetian remembers men only in the hierarchy of which she is going to kill them.
You know what? And that's fair. But yeah, after the match crowning, which was all show off and all spectacle and not real, unfortunately, they are then just like taken back to the honeymoon suite on Gaucho's estate and be like, okay, you two crazy kids have fun. And Shuming is like, I'm gonna die. I hate this. I am not trying to sleep with you. You are with Iju. Like, I will sleep on the couch, he says, which is very funny because they have this like huge bed. And so Zetian is like, earlier in the story when she was talking about Iju, or she was talking with Iju about Shuming, or just about being in love and being in relationships, Iju has a lot of extremely pro-poly, like, emotional thoughts about, like, love and relationships because he's had to process his jealousy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Of Shuming. Because he thought, like, you know, Zetian and Shuming, because they got set up as a balanced match before he joined the situation, you know, he had to process jealousy, and he came to the conclusion that it's like, you know, just because you're compatible with him and that you have something special with him doesn't mean that there's no space for me, because I know we're compatible, and I know that you love me, and it's like, I think love can be infinite, is his kind of, like, main thing that he says.
He has a full honors thesis about why monogamy is bullshit. Honestly.
It's so good. It's great, because I just imagine him, like, at school thinking about all this. It's like, man, someday I hope I get married to two people. Here's my thesis on why. It's really good. He is such this, we talked about this last time, the scholarly masculinity archetype. He has thoughts and theories and, like, readings and opinions ready on, like, so much stuff. I love it.
If this was an anime, he'd be the PowerPoint person.
Yeah. But yeah, so they've had this discussion, and Zetian brings it to this conversation that she has with Shimin.
Mm-hmm. A couple things about this part. Chapter 37, Infinite, the only note I have is in all caps. Sometimes I wonder if Shimin's range of attraction extends just as far as Yija's. Stop. I'm gonna crumble into dust. Stop. Stop. Enough.
You think Shira J. Josh put a love triangle in front of you, and they've gestured that they might not do what you're expecting with it.
Yeah.
But you don't know, but like things keep getting laid out.
Little do they know, I've read enough webcomics to know that this is just the roughness before they all get together. Thank you very much.
But yeah, Zetian uses the scholarly pro-poly rhetoric from Iju to score with Shimin, but it is extremely wholesome. Like, it is a really nice, I think, healing moment for both of them.
It's a really good love scene.
Yeah.
After the love scene, we get our third drift dream sharing moment, which is about Wenda, Lee Shimin's like old partner who he thought maybe wouldn't die, but then ended up dying.
Yeah, they raised the Vermillion Bird together, if we remember.
Yeah.
Like, they were in a battle in a lesser chrysalis, and they defeated a Huanduan big enough to make the Vermillion Bird.
This is also where we learned that Shimin's been having Zetian's dreams too, and he says that he has dreams about walking on glass, which is like, it hurts.
I think he says walking on needles.
Oh, walking on needles?
Like, or knives or something.
Something like that.
It really hits.
It hits. It hits good. Like, oof. These chapters are a lot about how people are going, or about how our characters are going to weaponize, hone, or like shield themselves from different types of pain.
Yeah.
Which is just really, really good character work.
It's amazing.
But yeah, the specific thing that Shiming says is, I dream about walking on daggers every night, you know. It feels like a nightmare, but I think it's just your life. Like,
so true, bestie.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
True.
It's really good. And like, I really love that we get more confirmation here that Wunda is the one who taught him how to do his kind of like circular flowing fighting where he can redirect force. Mm-hmm. And that becomes relevant later as well. But like, I love that Wunda, because there's a part when Zetian is first thrown in the prison cell with Shiming, where she's like, girl, don't haunt me. Like, you don't want to haunt me. And it's like, well, she is kind of haunting you, but she was a positive force in Shiming's life who was taken from him. Yeah. Like, and I'm glad that she is still with him in a way.
Also, the groundwork they lay for the big reveal with this last memory transference of, oh, I woke up and I thought she would be fine because we were such a balanced pair. And
yeah,
she wasn't.
This is where we get our breakthrough, yeah.
Yeah, is that like Shiming, in his dream, he's like, we were a balanced match. We worked well together. I didn't even feel when she slipped away. And like, it's this horrifying thing for him. And it sets up, like, he wakes up and Zetian wakes up and they're talking about this. And Zetian is like, we were just talking to the other balanced pairs. And when she used her spirit
I see the sense.
Yeah, the women had stronger spirit pressure. And she's like, everyone says that they just seem to have stronger spirit pressure. And then once, the men are in the cockpit, then their spirit pressure goes higher.
Well, because women are more concentrated with they're better at like managing it so it looks bigger when they're just walking around.
I love this because she literally says, or I think it might be Xiaoying.
Yeah,
Xiaoying says this. Xiaoying says, it's like how women have higher pain tolerance. No, there is actually not a difference between pain tolerances, but one gender tends to get more pain and be expected to power through it. It's not that they feel pain less. I mean, this is a narrative that specifically in America gets deployed against Black people to this day in medicine.
Yeah.
Like, there are doctors who are taught at accredited universities that Black people feel less pain.
And fat people.
Yeah. Pretty much, if you are a marginalized person, there are narratives around how your body works that are just factually incorrect. And I love that specifically was pulled out to be something that seems fallacious right alongside, wait, women have higher spirit pressure.
And it's wrapped up in the metaphysics. Exactly. Yes. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
It's pulled exactly with it. And I love that. So they decide, they're like, okay, we need to get information. And Zetian's like, I want to kill a dude anyway. Let's go.
Okay. Can I just... This is literally how breakneck this section of the book is. Chapter 39 is called That Kind of Guy, That Kind of Girl. Here's what happens in this chapter. They waterboard An Lushan with liquor until he gives them the information they want, and then he dies. And then they go have a threesome. Like... sometimes...
So Zetian and Shiming, they spent their last night in the capital, like, having sex and having these conversations, and they're headed back to the Great Wall, and so they decide to do romantic waterboarding.
So I really like this. So something that is really good in this book is, like, the only reason they are they struggle so much because everyone, our Iron Triangle are full of very smart people who have been held back for different reasons, right?
Yep.
The system is crushing all of them. When they put their mind to it, they can kidnap a guy and kill him. Easy.
Yeah, literally. I love that it takes every member of the polycule to really pull this off. It's
a great
good.
scene. I do want to say it's been over 5,000 days since Sean Hannity said that he would get waterboarded for charity to prove that waterboarding is not a brutal form of torture. So they get the old strategist.
At this point, he needs to be waterboarded with grain alcohol.
They waterboard a man with grain alcohol to get information from him.
And shoutouts to Shuming. You know, this must have been really difficult, but also...
Oh my god, to find this out?
Well, no, finding this out, but also just handling this much grain alcohol. Like, shoutouts to my man. Sobriety is tough. You know, we're here for you.
Sobriety is tough.
But yeah, they do romantic waterboarding by strapping on Lushan to the tilt table that is used to test female potential concubines. So they strap him on it. Shuming heats a bucket of water and throws it on him so that now he has scalding burns. So then when they do the waterboarding, the alcohol hurts worse. Like it's
really, really brutal. Like I almost kind of wanted to shrink away from it a little bit. And I mean, I did.
It is kind of, for a book that has a lot of brutality.
And that's where Shiran Jejao wants us, is the thing.
Yeah. And it's interesting here because at first I was like, I really don't like, there's a thing a lot of media does, which is buy into the narrative that torture works.
Right.
You know? And it's like, torture literally doesn't work. There have been studies on this.
Hey, now.
Alice, like, hey, all the people I've tortured have given me reliable information.
You haven't finished the Metal Gear series yet, okay? Torture works perfectly.
But at first I was like, on reading the chapter the first time, I was like, well, it kind of sucks that torture worked again, but also this guy deserved it, so I guess I'll let it slide. But then I recalled, it's like, Iju's part in this is that he, with his media team, has put together what looks like a fake screenshot of them having black-bagged on Lushan's son.
Yeah.
Like his only son, and so the end of his bloodline.
And that's what actually gets him to talk.
Yeah, and so on my reread, I was like, okay, the torture part is like, I mean, it's cathartic, it's important, it's a violence that they get to do to try to redeem some of the violence done to them.
It's relationship building.
It's important. Couples that slay together.
It's a couples activity.
But in the end, what gets him is that not only are they threatening his son, it's not just because it's his child, it's his only son, so it is his bloodline. And it's like, that is what gets him to finally crack and reveal to them that the seat structure in the chrysalises is unbalanced.
I do something I really like about this confession scene, and torture doesn't work, et cetera, we don't need to relitigate it. Mm-hmm. But I think why I think it's funny is because they really don't torture him too much. He gets one round of waterboarding and then folds immediately to protect what he believes is the most important thing, which is the male heir. Because what we've kind of built up is that the men running Washua are so focused on doing anything in their power, throwing anything under the bus. They will throw the whole secret system that the sages are protecting under the bus if it means protecting their son or another man, because men are the most important thing in the world. Yep. So
I do like that becomes a vulnerability. Like, and they exploit it.
And that's really good.
And I mean, an important thing to say here is that this is all acted. Iju had this staged. Like, they do not have this man's son.
Yes.
But he has it staged expertly because he's the heir to a fucking media empire.
Yep.
He's also a Yakuza, but...
yeah, he's also part of the Chinese mafia. Yeah, so they do this. They record all of this, and their whole plan is that they're going to record this, and they're going to publicize it eventually. But first, they got to go home, where hubby is making dinner. I love it so much.
This whole scene.
He's wearing flower-patterned sleeve protectors.
They really came home, and Yija had the Rei Ayanami Band-Aids on his fingers. Like, this... It's so important to me. I want this chapter tattooed on my body.
One of the quotes I wanted to read was when they come home. Zetian is narrating, of course. It says, "If this were any other occasion, I'd be laughing. Perks of refusing to play by the rules. You don't have to choose between the boy who'd torture a man to death with you and the boy who'd welcome you back with pastries after."
Look, the best part about poly relationships is...
Everybody has a streak.
She says my murderous boy and my sweet boy. And then they have a threesome.
And then what if murderous boy and sweet boy, what if they just kiss?
What if they just kiss with tongue in front of you?
See the gesture that Alice is making.
What if they
kissing.
kiss?
But yeah, they share this shocking revelation, and Iju, I mean, what's interesting here, I like the fact, because at first I was like, isn't this kind of contrived or whatever, but I like the fact that it's like, it goes all the way down to the seats. There are so many structures of inequality that are built on things that people think of as impartial.
Yeah.
Like the fact that there are systems for security trained to look for people of color. Like the fact that there are things that are literally built and they don't accommodate disabled bodies.
Wouldn't you know it? When we are biased and we make things, those things are biased.
Yeah.
What?
Alice is just finding out about structural discrimination. But yeah, I like that Sharon takes structural discrimination and literally makes it structural in this way. It's like,
and also
it's
magical.
Literally it's literally part of this thing you engage with that's supposed to be perfectly equal, like a war machine for the Empire that they rely on to keep themselves safe. And even here, they cannot allow for the idea that a woman might succeed and might kill men if things are unbalanced. But like, the hatred of women is so intrinsic to the structure of the country that it is literally undermining their efforts. And I mean, that's how real society works, baby.
It's like, it's so real. It's so good. Anyway, read your threesome quote, please.
Yeah, it's a shocking revelation, and we get go for it, junior strategist Iju, where he's frying buns, and they have this information, and they're all shook about like what this means for the structure of the world. And Shuming tenderly touches the side of Iju's face where he has flour on it, and then like goes, "Oops, sorry, no homo, bro." And basically Iju is like, "Yes, homo." And it's really cute because it's kind of this inept flirting, and they're both just like floundering for a second, but then they do kiss, they get their mac on, and then they draw Zetian kind of into their embrace, and Zetian says, "My heart stutters, drawing my chest tight, but I am at peace with this. Instead of a betrayal of any form, it feels like a completion. My killer boy, my sweet boy. The final line in this triangular formation we've been dancing in, making us stronger than ever."
Triangle.
Yes, triangle is the strongest shape. It's so good.
Honestly, I think why this whole thing works so well is the author just does such a good... They lay out all three relationships in this triangle in such a way that it is not only believable, you're like, this is an inevitability that they will end together as a trio. Like, I cannot see it working another way.
Can I tell you something that's going to hurt your heart?
Is one in a back to tank?
No. Confirmed part of the cut content from this book is more stuff between Shuming and Iju.
Homophobia.
That's fine.
Yeah, because it was supposed to develop more in the second half, and obviously this is the half that got really badly trimmed to keep only the plot essential moments. And, like, Sharon has said, like, just, like, I really hate that, like, that ended up being part of the cut content because it's, like, that is so important. But I do think that they edited it in such a way that they managed to preserve enough that, like you said, like, the relationships still hit.
I think it's... Why I like it is because the book is through Zetian's eyes, right?
Yeah.
And, like, it's the little bits they do to build it. Like, her waking up in the hospital and looking over and seeing them leaning on each other.
Yep.
All the moments of, like, oh... Those two are fully formed characters that exist when Zetian's not around. Yeah. And they spend time together. And they're like, she comes home and they're just hanging out.
That's so important.
Touching
You're so right.
calloused hands with soft hands. And it doesn't, they don't get deep into it, but it's there. It's pervasive through the text, the relationship that builds between the two, starting with the, I'm going to detox you. Romantically.
Yeah.
My hands look like this so that her hands can look like this and his hands can look like that.
Yeah, part of shielding them, and I love it, because literally part of shielding them from the eyes of camera drones when this moment happens, it was supposed to be because they tortured somebody, but Iju has put on the herbal medicine that Shuming needs for his detox, and that is fogging all the windows along with the steamed bun frying. And I love that, like, that it's part of their smokescreen, but also like Iju's been making sure this medicine gets made, you know, and has been doing this caretaking and like, anyway, I hope someday we get the Sheeran cut.
We get the Sheeran cut.
Hey, if fucking Stephanie Meyer can publish some like shit on her website, like, oh, here's my whole books from Edward's perspective because you wanted that. Like, Sheeran, drop the Sheeran cut.
Sheeran, do it. This is a call to action. To put this podcast in time, I think that this does for me what the bath scene in Dungeon Meshi does for lesbians.
Yes, it's that validation, it's that caretaking, it's that realism.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Dungeon Meshi for inventing lesbians.
I really like the part where they put their fingers through each other to exchange chi. I really enjoyed that scene.
Yeah. It's
while
so
naked
good.
in the bath together.
Energy exchange can be so intimate.
Man, I hope Yija uses dark magic to revive Li Shimin on his own.
Immediately after this, we'd launch into the final battle. So this is when they are launching the offensive into the Zhou province. And I love they have the polycule seats in the mech now because Iju's like, yeah, they need me as a chi battery. I don't know what to say. And so they're like, okay, we're installing another seat. And it's a jump seat. He's not part of the yin yang like structure.
It's a little sidecar bucket seat. It's so funny.
Yeah. Okay, visualize it like this. Visualize a motorcycle. Zetian is driving. Shuming is riding bitch, and Iju is in the sidecar.
Yep.
Not literally, because Shuming is still in the Yang seat, but spiritually, he's riding bitch. So yeah, they start the offensive into Zhou, and there's this whole desolate area around the Great Wall, and you know she's reflecting like, oh, this was my homeland, it's all ruined. But then they get further enough out, and there's a thriving wilderness. Like it is gorgeous.
Yeah. So
the Huandans they pull the chi from the earth for their spirit metal, and that's why it's so dead. And the reason it's dead around the quote-unquote Great Wall is because that's where the battles are happening, and both the chrysalises and those are pulling it. So once they get past that, it's like, oh, this is just regular nature now. This is wild. Also, I was very proud of myself.
Yeah.
It was at this moment, as they were going across this giant empty plain to the volcano and mountain ridge, I was like, that's the Northeast Plain. That's the metaphor. It's the Northeast Plain of China, the two mountain ridges on each side. Guys, I figured out the source material for one part of this. Are you proud of me?
Who says Americans don't know geography? Alice knows it, and that's 1 out of 3 podcasts.
Shout out to the 3 kingdoms for teaching me all I know about China. And to the 2 years of Chinese I took, in which my Chinese professor can never listen to this because of how I've butchered Chinese. But I learned some.
Another important part about this wilderness is that Zetian isn't seeing any, like, we expect to see ruins because apparently people used to live here. And she doesn't see shit. Right. That's like kind of an important thing that she notices.
It's all either been so totally reclaimed they can't see it, or like this area was not settled in the way that she thought.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing that she's having to think about.
Yeah.
Another funny thing they run into out here are nomads.
Yeah.
Who are rolling around.
We got
on
our
horseback,
Mongols. We got them.
Well, they could be like Mongols or like in this case Rongdi, but also, Zetian points out, it's like, these could be her ancestors. Like, these were people who have remained in Zhou province after it fell. And so, like, they're riding around on horseback, and they're shouting things at the chrysalises, and then they unroll a scroll at one point, and it's like, can you cure the emperor? These people have been waiting. Hey, can somebody fucking cure the emperor? He's over there. Like, he's
They're
literally
so real
just
for
over
that.
here. And they've been doing this for 200 years.
This is when I realized what this book was going to be doing in the next literal like 10 fucking pages, because earlier we get teased about this emperor guy and his yellow dragon having had a disease and froze himself in a mountain. But it's like kind of not super confirmed if it's true or not. And I was like, oh, that'll be something that we'll deal with like later in the series, I'm sure. No, it's happening in an hour. Like
Don't even worry about it, homie. He is on the way.
He's on the way.
No, it's really funny. And how they set this up. So an important thing to note, they're heading out into this wilderness, which apparently has people in it. And so they're heading out there, and the strategists have sent everyone with an antiviral pack, but especially Iju, because they're like, listen, city boy, you may not have been exposed to flower pox, which is the disease that was endemic to this area and the disease that allegedly killed the emperor that he died of. And it's like, we have a vaccine for it, but like, we don't know what kind of variations are out in this area and everything. Do not open the cockpit. If you have to open the cockpit, use your antivirals. And so Iju confirms, it's like, oh yeah, we've got antivirals in here. Each of us is carrying a pack. This will help us later.
This is an important duel that will help us later.
Yeah, like, I really love this because there's the Ming Dynasty plague that went around at that time, and it's like
the only one who knows history.
the like flower pox or whatever that the emperor has. It's very, like, oh, we don't have a way to cure this. We only have holistic medicine, and like, that's what it is. Killed the old emperor.
Yeah. And so the myth was that, he had extremely strong water type chi. And so the myth was that, like, he froze himself and then tapped into the primordial chi coming out of the volcano to power this. And he's been waiting for 200 years to be unfrozen. But that was supposed to be a myth. Don't worry about it. Anyway, but they continue on. They ignore the nomads and they head towards attacking the Hunduan nest, and specifically the steel type, the metal type, I said steel like this is Pokemon, the metal type Emperor class Hunduan who's supposed to rule it. And as they head towards the volcano, it's getting super foggy and misty, and they're like, oh, visibility is not great. And they get there and they realize, because the Hunduans have been falling back instead of attacking them.
The smaller ones falling back closer and closer to the mountain ridge.
And it's suspicious and it's weird, but the strategists are like, don't worry about it, just focus on the Emperor, blah, blah, blah. They get there. It's an ambush. The Emperor has laid metal type spirit metal all through the forest, so it looked like mist. And as they traveled through it, they got fucking coated in it. And when it starts pulling that back, it immediately begins damaging the chrysalises. And we know this is going to be an extremely fucking hard fight. And it is, for like 3 pages. And then
so much happens in 3 pages.
Yeah, so much happens in 3 pages.
There's like,
it is a good battle.
The throw-off line is like 139 chrysalises that could be sent, and like there's a big battle. 239
chrysalises, and then a ton of people.
It's a good battle. This is a good ass battle, honestly.
Yeah, it's a good ass battle.
It's so good.
But then the worst thing happens in my whole life happens here.
Yeah, the worst thing happens in their whole life. The whole reason that the Vermillion Bird was going to be like essential to retaking Joe is because metal is strong against, or fire is strong against metal types, right?
Right.
And so they go to confront the steel type Emperor, and they're in this huge fight with it. But as it turns out, a thing that they thought was a frozen lake behind the steel type Emperor, or the metal type Emperor, who looks like a mountain. Like, these things are so enormous. That turns out to be a water type Emperor. So there are 2 emperors at this nest.
Oh no, the lake they passed. So now they're trapped between a lake emperor class and a mountain emperor class.
Yeah, literally. They're just like crazy huge. And they're successfully fighting the steel emperor, or I typed steel. That's why I keep saying that. Anyway, they're successfully fighting the metal emperor because they're fire type, and but they're expending a lot of chi to do it. They managed to defeat the metal emperor. And during all of this, they are not just getting, before when you killed Hunduans, you would get like an emotional transference. They are getting words. The Emperor class seem to be powerful enough to communicate in words that can be understood by the pilots. And they are saying, humans, scourge of the universe, fuck off and leave us alone. And they killed the metal type Emperor and get its like dying thoughts, and it's this like horrific wave of emotion and words like, leave us alone, leave us alone.
And then Neil Patrick Harris turns around and says, it's scared, and everyone cheers.
Maybe I'm just like, I don't know if I'm just afraid of complication. This just kind of didn't hit for me. Like, this is where it becomes obvious, the turnabout kind of becomes obvious, right? That that the humans are the aggressors, and that the flying god's palace is probably a spaceship.
I think we all saw it coming, but we're also adults reading a YA.
I'm going to be completely honest and vulnerable and open on the pod. I did not see this coming the first time I read the book, and the last line hit me like a lead weight. Yeah, I'm fucking stupid.
Okay.
The whole last thing just hit me. Anyway, I'm glad y'all are smart.
For me, it became obvious actually a lot earlier, which is there's a kind of throwaway moment where Zetian talks about how when they harvest spirit metal from Huanduans, they give it to the gods and they don't know what the gods do with it. And that I immediately was like, oh, that's colonial resource management.
Oh, fuck, that's smart, God.
Yeah.
See, this is where your post-colonialism comes in.
For me, it was when they mentioned feeling the memories of the Hunduns as they are destroying them, of the, like, regret and fear and all of that. And I'm like, oh, this is classic. We can't communicate with them, and they're fearful of us. I want to talk about, speaking of the gods, right?
Yeah.
Gods, who gives a shit in the first half of this book? Gods are now here.
Gods just dropped.
I just want to shout out Nuwa. I know that's a mispronunciation. Gotta be my favorite Chinese goddess. Created people. Love them. So to speak to that, no one knows what the gods are doing with so much spirit metal, but we know better than to ask questions. We just keep hauling Hyundun husks to designated offering sites a little outside the Great Wall, along with lumber, soil, seeds, various animals, and girls. Girls left in chains and then never heard from again. A fate eerier than becoming a concubine pilot, since the gods never appear when we can see them, or even when there's a single camera drone in range.
It's so fucked. Like, it is full Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but they're like, those are gods.
Well, they're
give us
very
technology.
much, they're establishing what the gods are, and something, here's a cool thing that you can do with language. Gods isn't capitalized.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good note. Yeah, that's really neat.
But yeah, they successfully defeat the Metal Emperor, but that's what we hired you for, and seems like you're a loose end now.
Tortoise betrayal.
Like, there's a Water Emperor left, but they've got a whole bunch of chrysalises that can fight that, and it's the Black Tortoise with the steel chair.
Tortoise betrayal.
Her apparent homie, Ma Xiaoying, who has the 2 kids and they're friends, that she convinced her to send her family to the capital. She is very much in charge during this. There are several times it's noted that, like, both eyes on the Black Tortoise are black with water chi. And, like, so she is in control here, and she is executing the clear turnabout.
So what happens is she tries to communicate with Ma Xiaoying to ask him to stop because she thinks it's him doing this. But then that's when she realizes they are both involved.
Unfortunately, you have been knifed in the back by the betrayal within gender policing.
Do you ever get betrayed by a turtle?
I tried to think, because I always love in books, I'm like, what is my favorite part of a book? And this is my favorite part of the book.
Yes. Because
a lot of what Zetian is dealing with is fighting against men and the systems in place of that. Mm-hmm. But Zetian's interaction with other women, I think, is such a story and an arc that I love it. Especially because Xiaoying is the person that, she felt a connection with. And it's my favorite line in the entire book because I think it's so good. I can't believe I've done the one thing I've raged at everyone else for doing. Underestimating a woman.
Yup. Ooh.
Based. She read her as, she's a subservient wife, but she's looking out for me. She cares about me. Mm-hmm. Nope. At the end of the day, she's just like these men. She just cares because they have her she tries to give us they have our family hostage. Nah.
But she jumps from they have my family hostage to they have your family hostage very quickly. And I think that's really interesting that you brought that up because it's like on a reread, I think I picked up more strongly that the female pilot of the Black Tortoise carries concealer for girls who are being abused. She doesn't do anything about it. She just helps literally cover it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's so important because Zetian assumed that her experiences were universal, and they may well be, but she also assumed that everyone would be on the same side if they were the same gender, and didn't consider the fact that, unfortunately, in every oppressive regime, there are collaborators. There are people who think they can be assimilated into power, or that their position can be preserved and they can be protected by capitulating to power. And that's what's happened here. So the Black Tortoise has turned on them, and they are straight up tapped out of chi. They cannot defend themselves. And so Shiming makes the choice, and I mean that line gets me every time. He calls her, his nickname for her affectionately is Mei Nyang, which means charming lady. And he says, Mei Nyang, catch Iju, and he ejects both of them to save their lives. And previously it had been established that the spirit armor that Zetian wears has wings, so she's able to eventually get reoriented and catch herself and then catch Iju. but Shuming pilots the mech alone, which in any mech thing where there are multiple pilots is like the heartbreaking moment. When you find out that Stacker Pentecost in Pacific Rim had piloted alone and it fucked him up for life. And when, Raleigh pilots alone, like it is such a hard moment in any multiple pilot scenario. Iju has had a health tracker. He's had a Fitbit that connects to Shuming on his wrist.
Shuming got that location tracking on.
And he went, to watch kid. He has his own Fitbit on, and then he also has Shuming's Fitbit on. And they watch his heart rate hit 0.
Yep.
Heartbreaking.
And they do it from inside the White Tiger because, check it out, the chick who you thought was mean to you actually is on your side. Cielo and her partner have picked them up when they fly over, but like they watch Shuming's heart rate hit 0 and he's killed by the Black Tortoise.
This crushed me. I was so upset.
Yeah, it's horrifying. It's horrifying. So
it also crushed Shuming.
I hate you.
I'm sorry.
Nah, I love the part where, because, hey, who are your real friends? My friends in the White Tiger. Flies over, gets in the cockpit, notices that their yin-yang seats are different. The way that they have it set up is a much more loving embrace, hands over chest, in a much more tender way.
Yeah.
But also, Chielu is like, well, fuck, we gotta go help, and like tries to turn to fight the Black Tortoise to help out. And then, honestly, this is the worst betrayal in the entire series.
Yeah.
Suma Yi being like, there's nothing you can do. Focus on the battle.
He was at their fake wedding. He cried at the fake wedding.
He cared so much about them, but in this moment, he's like, no, I was also using you.
Yeah.
I don't care that you're
Top
alive.
10 enemy betrayals.
You can hear it in the tone of like, we're gonna kill her when you get back with her. Like, I'm gonna ask you to kill her, like the rest of them.
They're done.
It's over. Like, we're done.
Like,
they're used materials. We've killed the 2 Emperor classes. We don't fucking need them.
well, they're still fighting the water class.
water,
But the water class is a lot. It's more conquerable than the metal class. But like, yeah, it's just like, it is awful. But you know what this means?
We are rushing down the roller coaster now because she's just gonna breakneck speed walk right up to the fucking yellow dragon, which is here, by the way.
Hey, no.
Like,
she flies over to it.
yes, in a paragraph.
Thank you.
She finds, I will say, there's a really cool moment. Zetian is like, shit, I need a new ride. My old ride got crushed to death with one of the loves of my lives in it. I need a new car.
A cute little thing is like, she leaves Yuji with the White Tiger. Like, I trust you with my remaining boy. I know that you won't kill him.
Please take my boy.
I gotta go get another
I've gotta
boy.
abandon my boy real quick.
I need a backup boy now. And so Zetian is immediately like, I need a new chrysalis to finish this fight and get revenge. I need to find a nomad. So she goes flying around because she's got the antiviral. She has hers, and then she takes the one from Iju. And is like, I gotta go find the fucking, if the Emperor is actually here, I need to go find him and the Yellow Dragon. So she flies off, she finds a nomad. I do like, it's an older woman that she finds.
Yeah.
Who has unbroken feet and is riding horseback. And like, she has this moment where it's like, if I hadn't been saved, quote unquote, and brought into Washa, would I have been like this woman, like proud on the back of a horse, like living free? And she has this like weird moment where she wants to talk to her more, but I'm sorry, we are in chapters 44 to epilogue. We gotta go.
Yeah.
So the woman takes her into the like a caverns, like a series of caverns that lead into where the Yellow Dragon, the absolutely fucking massive Earth-type chrysalis that belonged to the Emperor, Chen Jung, is being held there. And she does find out that he froze himself. He's got marks of flower pox on him, and he has his gauntlets out, and they have very small needles and everything. And so the nomads start trying to revive him so he can receive a cure by giving their chi. And it's been mentioned a couple times that people and chrysalises can have subtypes of chi.
Yes.
Like, this becomes very relevant later with Iju. But, like, her subtype, and I love the gender of this.
Let's get into gender politics.
Yeah.
Gender.
Her primary type is metal, but her subtype primarily is water, but she also has fire. and she can kind of choose between them. And like water is the strongest yin element in Wuxing, and fire is the strongest yang element. And so in her training, she learned how to draw out fire over water as her subtype. And so she immediately was like, this guy needs to get toasty. I'm going to give him this fire chi. And she awakens the...
Wait. You skipped?
Yeah.
So this is so breakneck. Shit just happens.
Yeah, a lot is happening.
The nomads, to try and give the Emperor fire chi, light a torch, shove it in their mouth, burn their mouth, and then put their hands on him to try and give fire chi because they don't have enough innate.
They do fire swallowing to activate their fire chi. It's wild. It was a really cool, just like throw off cool moment.
My favorite thing of this is a gift from Shiran Jiao to me personally, which is that she walks into this big ass room and she sees the Emperor sealed in, and then like they're doing their thing, and then halfway through she realizes that this room is the cockpit. Excuse me?
It's a huge fucking room.
Excuse me?
It's so good scale.
Like they're parting curtains, walking into this grand throne room. There are all the nomads like praying for the Emperor, and then you're like, oh wait, by the way, this is the seat, and there's another pilot seat in front.
Yeah, there's a yin seat in here. And so, yeah, she revives the Emperor. A really fucked up thing happens, which is, he gets defrosted while he starts melting. Half
By the
his
way,
face, like, sloughs off.
the disease immediately hits. His face starts melting. She jabs him with the EpiPen.
Yeah, in the neck, because she's like, give me a vein. And he's like, what, I'm melting. And she just stabs him in the neck with it. And so, he makes a spirit metal mask. So we have a masked
Char Aznavour shows up.
We have a masked psychopath.
Char Aznavour has arrived.
It's a Phantom of the Opera style, right? Half of the face.
Yeah, it's a half-face mask. It's really good. It's on the cover spread for Heavenly Tyrant. You can find that online. It's incredible.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks good as hell. Chin-Jung can use all 5 types of chi at will, by the way.
Yeah. So she revives him, and like he's coming back, and his chi meridians are lighting up. He can use all 5 types of chi. This man is the Avatar.
This man is the Avatar.
She tests his spirit pressure just for a moment, and it's so overpowering that she's like, the fuck?
Yeah, it literally is Emperor class, because she made the mistake of doing this when she was trying to locate the Metal Emperor before, and was overwhelmed by this crazy spirit pressure. She has the same experience now with this guy.
It's so good. And then she says, gender is an illusion. Free yourself from the shackles that bind you. All you have to lose are your chains. I am the Yang seat now.
She does say that. Really quick, though, I have to say, I just realized something, another tip-off for the Huanduans being, like, the species. They say at one point that humans are the most concentrated source of chi, but then also the Huanduans can do this shit, and I'm like, if I've been thinking about it, man, it's almost like the dominant life form has a really strong chi concentration. Anyway,
weird.
Back to gender.
I do love, so, like, I live for this shit. The woman on a warpath who is like, hey, you've been dead for 200 years. We lost the province. I am taking control of this, and you're too sleepy bitch honk shoe Mimi to do this. Get in the bitch seat, because I know that'll dampen you, and it won't kill me when we meld.
I love it. And she literally threatens him. The antiviral that he got has cured his flower pox, but he doesn't know that. And she has Iju's other set. And she's like, listen, if you don't get another injection, the rest of your face is melting off, King. So you better fucking get in this other seat.
We don't have a cure. So.
Yeah, so.
You need my drugs.
Yeah, so he is forced into the yin seat, which I like. It's a gamble, because she's not sure if this systematic disenfranchisement goes back 200 years, but she suspects it does. Yep. So she's like, okay, get in the yin seat. And sure enough, it dampens him enough. He has this incredible spirit pressure, but she is able to survive piloting with him from the yang seat.
Let's talk about his spirit realm. Holy shit.
It's the best one. It's the best ones. Like, it's so good. Holy shit.
Yeah, they head into the mind realm of the icy, watery mind realm of the Emperor.
Eerie, horrifying, haunting. What she thought Shi-Men's was, with his, like, oh, I've killed all these people in the fire and the turbulence. The Emperor has so many dead souls.
Hordes of hungry ghosts.
It is horrifying. And this is the most Jitian has lost herself in a spirit realm.
Yeah,
like,
she has no idea who she is.
You read it and you're like, oh, this is it. She's gone. Like,
Yeah.
fuck.
It's really incredible. And I love, because it's commented on that, like, Qinzheng, the emperor, has water chi, which again is the strongest of the yin chi types. It's really unusual for a man to have this kind of extremely strong chi. You never feel how cold and icy water can be like you do in this sequence. You feel it with the Black Tortoise because it is a cold fucking move to fucking kill our man Shuming. But like, it is, she literally wakes up beneath a frozen pond or lake or something. She is drowning in black water, and when she finally fights her way up to the surface, which, by the way, the black water is full of hungry ghosts who are trying to drag her down.
Classic.
She gets to the surface, and it's encrusted in ice. And who does she see? Well, we don't know initially, but who does she see in the mind realm? Well, that was a prompt, but y'all can just do whatever.
Oh, sorry. I was reading.
You were just reading the book again.
No. I was reading because I think that the word hungry ghosts is actually important because Chinese folklore has different kinds of ghosts, and hungry ghosts, specifically egui, which is what she has in there, are like a specific type. And what I'm seeing on this, by the way, is just on Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt if you have to. They were arrogant in life and can take on gaseous forms. These are like greed ghosts.
And I mean, that makes sense. I mean, this is the most powerful man in the world. Like, but all
these gold diggers.
But yeah, she rises to the surface. She's trying to break through this ice, and she sees this red glow. And there's some guy here.
The fuck's he doing here?
And he melts. Yeah, who the fuck is this guy? He melts a hole in the ice and drags her out, and they're running for it. And she does not recognize him at all. Again, she is so deep in this mind realm. She has no idea who she is, where she is. They're running from the ghosts across this ice. And she's staring at him, and he's got his eyes lit up with fire red chi, and she's like, I don't know him. And she's like, but I think this isn't right. If I'm on ice with this guy, we should be ice skating. And again, as soon as she has the thought, she's in the mind realm. They begin ice skating, and they're moving through the hungry ghosts with this circular, like evasive fighting pattern. And he calls her Meinyang.
Yeah.
And that's when she realizes that this is Shuming. Shuming is with her and helping her get out of this mind realm. And she just, like, once she remembers, like, the grief crashes over her, and she's like, do not leave me, do not leave me. And he basically does listen, as long as you remember me, I'm here with you in spirit. Like, don't worry about it. We just, again, not to date this podcast too much, we just did Dungeon Meshi. Real has a dream of my sister saying, it's okay, let me go. It's time for me to say goodbye kind of moment. Shuming is very much like, listen, you're strong enough. I'll always be with you. Like, just get out of here. But it's okay that I died. Like, you made it. It hurts. It hurts.
It's beautiful.
But I like that we get this because you joked that, like, at one point in the chat that, Alice, you joked that, like, Shuming gets killed off screen. And it's like, yeah, we aren't in the cockpit with him when he dies, but we witness the Vermillion Bird get crushed. And we have this moment, which I really appreciated, is kind of like a goodbye. There's going to be a turnabout later, but, like, if this was our last moment with Shuming, like, it hurts, but I also like that it's there to kind of, like, provide some catharsis before she begins piloting with another guy again. Because it's like, Shuming actually convinced her that boys were not disposable, right? Like, there are some good men. # not all men.
Not all men.
I do want to say, when I read this portion and the fact that the actual quote unquote death was very distant, I was like, well, we haven't seen anybody in the spirit realm in a fully formed body that wasn't alive somewhere. So
yeah, you're like, maybe. I did my one specific call out for, like, the whole book that I realized literally last night and just, like, had to pull my phone out and add this to the notes really quick. I love the beautiful parallel between Zetian as a child, as a 5-year-old, being made to walk across ice so that her feet can be broken, so she has to depend on assistance to move. And then Shuming's spirit in the Emperor's mind realm, skating with her on the ice to evade the hungry ghosts. They're leaning on each other, they're supporting each other, but they go faster together, and Shuming weaves them through the ghosts using Wenda's martial arts technique that he learned from her.
Yeah.
Like, they would not have made it this far if he hadn't learned something from a woman who he respected. And the first scene speaks so powerfully to how gendered violence is enacted, and the second contrast that is like a vision of, like, what intergender support and mutual respect can look like. They lean on each other to move well. Shuming had to respect Wenda to learn from her. Like, It's really beautiful. It's a really transcendent moment. And it is like a character growth arc. Like, Zetian has never been wrong about the violence done to women, but she didn't understand that the system also can be violent to men. And that, I mean, the whole thing is like feminism liberates everybody because men also suffer under patriarchy. And like, that's a lesson she had to learn, and Ximing was there with her. Anyway, I thought it was beautiful. When I realized that parallel between the walking on ice, like, oh boy, okay, woo! Books!
All right, and then over the next 2 pages, the yellow dragon whips ass across the whole battlefield and then conquers China.
In the next 2 pages, it conquers China. Don't worry about it.
Fucks up that backstabbing bitch and her boyfriend immediately.
Chomp!
Well, first, kills that water emperor class
the water
like
emperor.
it's fucking nothing. Just literally circles it.
Well, Earth is strong against water.
Circles it and just squeezes like a big old snake.
God. And I mean, we'll talk about this more in the mech rating. Motherfucker can like absorb spirit metal as it goes to repair itself and add sections to the dragon.
Oh, it's so good.
That says, "Hey, bitch, you thought you could get away with that? Smash! Your kids are fucked."
Yeah, fuck your 2 kids.
I guess importantly, Zetian also pauses to show and announce that the pilot system is a lie because she's currently in the Yang seat, right?
Well, she tries to announce it, but she hasn't been able to provide her proof yet. But she's just yelling it, and she's a huge dragon, so like I would listen.
Yeah.
Frankly, if a big dragon appeared outside my house and was yelling about gender, I'd be like, let me listen.
Just kind of does the little Breath of the Wild slow flowing dragon through the sky all the way back to the capital. This is the payoff. This entire segment is the payoff of the entire book of being like, she finally has the unfettered power that she needs to crush so many people.
And I do want to point out, it's incredibly funny. Qin Zheng, he's just down. He's just down to ride.
Oh, I love him. I love him.
She notices this. Yeah, she points out. Yeah. He's just sitting there. Like, he's just kind of like, yeah, all right.
He literally is in the yin-yang realm, and he's like, oh, that's weird. I've never actually seen somebody live this far.
Yeah. And then she's like, all right, I killed this emperor. We retook Zhou. I'm going to go fucking seize control of the country. And he's like, oh, you're going to seize control of the country? Cool.
No, she literally like, I gotta borrow this to go do some stuff. And he's like...
She says at one point, I think she literally says, I've got a thing I need to do.
Literally, I have some things to do. But what I really love, and I'm probably gonna fall in love with this man, and I know myself and I know I'm problematic, is of all of the people in this world that has been built, no man with any modicum of power, even men with no power, don't respect women. Like, name one good man outside of our triangle, right? Challenge level impossible.
I would have said Sima Yi, but unfortunately...
Sima Yi fucked that up. So she literally gets this guy, and he's just like, I'm going to defer to you. I'm going to let you do that because he isn't getting into the gender of it. He's just like, okay.
Well, initially he is resistant to getting in the yin seat because he's like, I'm not getting in the woman's seat. But then he's in there and they're piloting and he's like, I'm going to see how this plays out. This is cool.
Well, another thing that I think is kind of weighing on him too, which Zetian is really, really smart to point out, is that he didn't expect to be asleep this long. The world has changed drastically. She knows everything and he knows nothing, so he better sit down and shut the fuck up.
He's
and honestly,
a very smart man.
Yeah.
And I will say a really interesting thing. This is, so I also listened to the audiobook. Repeatedly throughout the book, she describes him as having kind of an archaic accent, like an old accent to the way he speaks. When the narrator, at least for the English language version, when the narrator does his voice, she gives him a slight British accent.
Oh, interesting.
It's like he's a Hong Kong raised guy who like learned English from the British, you know?
That's fun.
Yeah. And it's really interesting to me. I like, you know, if we're thinking about like the gods and the people who came to this planet originally being colonizers, I do like that there's almost like this is the archaic inflection, is that there's this weird echo of British Empire here.
That's such a good point.
I just wanted to shout that out.
No, that's a great shout out.
I thought it was because the book is in English, and what is the old version of the English we speak? It would be like British.
Yeah, but like she does like an American accent throughout with like obviously correctly pronounced Chinese. I believe the narrator is also Chinese American. But like it's a very specific maneuver she only deploys here, which is giving him a slight British accent. But the thing is, it's not like an old English sounding British accent. He sounds like an executive who was educated in English somewhere where the British taught.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's really cool. It's a really cool touch. So I just wanted to shout that out real quick. It does make every line he has incredibly funny because it's just like, suddenly a slightly British man is here.
Shout out to Yija for being the first man to experience a Category 5 woman event.
Yes! Oh my god, this is when we get the 2-time parent murder combo. Okay.
Yeah.
This whole scene, appears at Capitol, tells everybody, bitch, I'm the Empress now.
She says, I'm Empress Wu.
I'm Empress Wu. Don't fucking talk back to me.
The sages try to talk back. It's incredibly funny. They open all the PA speakers and are like, excuse me, we're going to try to blackmail you now. And of course, obviously, they have her family there. They put her mom on the mic and her mom's like, Tian Tian, please, like, don't kill us, or like, they'll kill us if you don't.
For your brother, so he can live.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Her mother is trying to talk and then her dad grabs the mic and is like, your brother did nothing wrong. If you hate us, that's one thing, but spare your brother. And she's like, this is what it's always been.
Yeah.
They probably don't even remember Ruyi's name at this point.
Here's voice of dead sister from beginning of book. Become their nightmare.
Yeah, do it.
My favorite thing about this is there's to me, the way I read this, like there's a world in which her family had said the right stuff and maybe she would have rethought what she was doing, but he fucked up really bad by saying that to her. You know what I mean?
If he had left her mom on the mic, this might have worked a little bit better.
Yeah.
But he grabbed the mic.
Even after the Black Tortoise, she is still so ingrained in I can believe other women and I need to save other women from suffering, including my mother who's right here who's being used as a hostage.
Her mother has always just been passive and allowed bad things to happen, and she keeps waiting for her mother to take a stand or to express any kind of specific love for her. And, like, she had that moment when she got the doll for the wedding and was like, my mom doesn't understand, but, like, she has this connection. She has been waiting to have a reason to have a connection with her mother. And it's just never going to happen, especially not while her father's alive. So she reaches out and she does a big steppy and she crushes the entire Sage's palace.
Destroys the entire palace. Kills everyone.
Everybody's dead.
No notes.
And then some other motherfucker, this is when we get Gaucho like, okay, I saw that you did some shit to them, but listen, I've taken a bunch of female hostages. You remember my disposable maids? This motherfucker. There's
an entire scene in the wonderful Jason Statham movie, The Meg, in which the villain character is in a helicopter doing an evil speech, and the Meg just jumps up and eats the helicopter. And I saw a lot of that in this scene. Now, this came out before the Meg, so I do think they could probably sue the Meg for stealing this.
The Meg was creeping directly from... Well, no, I mean, the major thing, like, she crushed the Capitol Palace with her family inside. That's one thing. But this, Gaucho has pulled up in a hovercraft. He is yelling on the mic, and he has surrounded himself with these female servants because he understands her a little bit better than the sages do. The leverage he needs to have on her is not her family. It's women. It's other women and girls.
It's innocent girls.
Yep.
Yeah. And so he's like, make me the regent.
Unfortunately for him, his son has green laser, so...
Yeah.
My son was born in Storm. My Stormborn son.
Young master of the storm. Like, fuck, it's so good. Yeah, so basically, Gaucho flies up and is like, listen, you're gonna make me the regent. I've got this cart full of girls, so you're not gonna crush me with your big dragon claw.
I can still help you. I'm one of the good men.
I'm, you'll just need to name me regent and give me power. And Iju was like, give me the mic. Iju was like, open this fucking cockpit right now.
Oh, by the way, she grabbed her boyfriend on the way with the dragon.
A lot of things are happening, but she did pick up her boyfriend from the boyfriend babysitters in the White Tiger.
Yeah.
Whiplash.
But Iju is like, open this fucking cockpit right now. One thing she points out, Earth types cannot use chi blasts. So, like, she is in a bad position because the only way she could take out Gaucho is with the claw, and that would kill the girl. So there's no way for her to do a concentrated strike. But Iju is like, open this fucking pit up, and has her open the cockpit, and Gaucho is trying to blackmail her by talking about the tape he has. By talking about this tape, which we know is her naked reading this contract. But Iju obviously knows nothing about it. He has no idea what could be on this tape. But Iju said, I believe women.
Yep.
When Zetian was like...
Zetian starts to like, I don't want Iji to see it. Because like, he's like, what is my dad talking about? And she's like, oh, there is one person I don't want to see that video.
Yeah, and she's like, you know, because I think it's important to her to have dignity in the eyes of Iju, you know? Like, her relationship with Ximing, I think, could be a little more raw, but, like, she does care a little bit about this, and she's like, don't worry about it, we can talk about it later, blah, 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 and when Iju is, like, open this cockpit, there's this sort of light fake out where it's like, oh, is he gonna, you know, go side with his dad? No, he wants the cockpit open so that he can use force lightning.
I think it's more green laser, just...
It is... But no, they literally describe it as crackling lightning from his hand, which he's holding like a gun. So he's doing finger gun.
He's doing Yu Yu Hakusho spirit cannon.
He's doing
Oh my fucking god, I can shoot that motherfucker out of the helicopter!
He precision blasts his father only with a combination of his wood and earth chi, and just force lightnings this guy, cooks him from the inside out, and then rips his shirt open to show off his gang tattoos, and grabs the mic and is like, I am now the motherfucking inheritor of this entire media empire. If you want to live, you better bow down to me, but especially Empress Wu! He is the hype man!
Let's hear it for Empress Wu!
It's so good. It is so good. But yeah, I mean, the incredible 2-time parent kill combo, he just has no time for it. He hits him with the green laser.
Well, surely that series of events, we've pretty much wrapped it up. There's surely no other reveals.
Yeah, we're done. There's nothing going to be anything else wild that happens.
I was actually going to say we've talked about this pretty much already at length, which is just that we find out that this isn't Earth and yada yada. They got Li Shimin in a back-to tank and have him hostage on the spaceship.
One of the parts of this reveal, so they basically send a message that's like, hey, Wu Jietin, calm your tits because we could destroy you and we need your power for what you're doing for our plans. And if you don't want us to kill him, keep doing what we say.
I was going to say, I think importantly, specifically, they say that we could end you right now, but we respect your claim to the throne.
Yeah.
Like, we're willing to let you do this, but you have to play by our rules.
It's interesting because it's mentioned that, like, part of the reason that Qin Zheng just seems down to clown with this is that in his time, 200 years ago, the country was ruled by the strongest pilot. And so it's like, I think to Zheng at least, it's like, well, yeah, this pretty much tracks. And so to a certain extent, the gods also are like, yep, well, it's a return to form, but yeah, we respect the claim. But yeah, she goes back. I will set this up a little bit. In the epilogue, she goes back with the yellow dragon to recharge it and to relieve Ximing, or to retrieve Ximing's remains. But the White Tiger reports like, a fucking invisible hovercraft fucking appeared. A UFO came and got his ass, and they snatched his remains first. And then she gets 2 calls.
So something about this is like that happens, and then they're talking about it was the fucking gods, obviously, which is a thing we're all now painfully aware of. But my favorite part is, and this is probably going to lead into the second book, the Emperor being like, they never even helped me when I needed it. And I was the fucking Emperor King.
Yeah, they didn't give him the cure to flower pox.
Just like, he hasn't talked the whole time she's doing any of this. Yeah. And suddenly the gods appear and he's like, oh, those assholes.
Yeah. They never answered my prayers. Fuck them. Like, it's a great energy. It's also a very funny energy because he has not spoken up to this point through the mouth of the dragon. It's only been Zetian. So the other pilots are like, wow, she found the old chrysalis. They didn't realize she also found the Emperor, and he speaks, and everybody's like, what the fuck? The Emperor's back.
Is that really the fucking Emperor?
Yeah, it's a really good moment. But yeah, Iju calls, and he's like, hey, we retrieved a crystal drive, which I love. It's like we found the hard drive in the ruins of the palace.
Yeah.
And we're the baddies. As it turns out, the Hunduans are the indigenous species of this planet. We are invaders. We were colonists. And then the gods break into this call to demand that Zetian bend the knee or they won't bring Shuming back. And what they share is this video of, like, to be fair, it's fucking gnarly. His rib cage is open. Like, he is really badly destroyed. But she can see his eyes. She can see his hair. She knows it's him. They've got him on an oxygen mask and his heart is visibly beating. So to some extent, he is still alive. And the gods are like, if you don't fucking hang, if you don't play along, we will not bring him back. So they finally, an authority finally, has good leverage on her. Ooh, and that's where it ends.
But the ending is so perfect because Zetian, the epilogue ending, the ending of the book is great. The book's great, blah, 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 etc. We can all establish.
The official stance of the OSG pod is this book whips ass. So yeah, don't even worry about it.
It ends with her realizing she has gained all of this power. She has crushed the sages. She has the ability to change the entire structure. And a bigger asshole appears and is like, oh, you thought you defeated all men? No.
Not all men.
It literally, the last line is she's screaming while clawing her face with her nails. And I'm like, This is... Anyway, you making me read this before the second book was out is violence.
Well, I do have good news. This is a fun surprise, but I said my piece at the beginning about pre-ordering this book. I have pre-ordered this book for you and Brian.
Dope.
Aww.
I wanted to support the author. It will be coming to you. Keep an eye out.
Well, thank you, Nico.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to get my copy from the library because I couldn't afford 3 copies, but I'm going to get these.
All right, I'm dying for the important business here.
Wait. Before we do that, can I have one last like thought? So I do want to talk about something that this book does. So if you know anything about the Chinese mythological symbols, they're the 4 main mythological symbols, right? So you have the red phoenix, which we have. You have the white tiger. Both are very clear, like their meanings are pretty easy to understand. Like the white tiger is the soldier, he's the honorable warrior. The phoenix is the powerful one that you can't kill. But I want to talk about the black tortoise. So the black tortoise in the Chinese mythological sense is always, it's 2 warring mountains. It's a tortoise mountain and a snake mountain. And so the tortoise is always shown with a snake that's wrapped around it. And they work in unison in a way, but I thought that having that be the snake in the grass was very good.
Yeah.
And then the last one of the 4 is the azure dragon. So something, generally a blue or green dragon, right?
Yeah.
Usually a water type is how it's always seen. So the fact that the dragon that we find is clad in pure gold and is an earth type, not even... So the actual elemental type of the azure dragon is generally wood. So for it to be this and an earth dragon and all of... I just really love how Jiren Zhejiao really, like, took these 4 that, like, I, as a layman, knew about these 4, and I loved what they did with it. And then this got me to, like, really read into, like, the rabbit and the Headless Warrior and, like, all of these different things. And, like, I think something you should do if you enjoyed this book is just get into Chinese mythological culture and all of the stuff that, like, it does in weird ways or in cool ways that just, like, turn it on its head but still pay reverence to what it is, especially in the context of learning that all of this is set up by the gods in the mimicry of Chinese culture.
Yeah.
Like, the big twist of, oh, this is all probably set up and these are all designed things, and, like, this culture was imparted on these people, and it's why, like, they don't really talk about it in the same way. It's like, oh yeah, we know, like, the mythological creatures, but we don't, sort of. That's it. That's my last big thought on this.
That's
I really
fantastic.
like the 4 mythological symbols in this book, and I really want to see where they go with it.
That's really cool. I didn't know anything about that, but I love that it's like, if you have knowledge of history, if you have knowledge of mythology, it enriches your read of this book in a way that is incredible.
But you don't need it.
Yeah,
you can
you
just
don't need it to enjoy
cool
it,
robot.
but it will enrich your experience, and I do love that.
But, you know, Brian's been sitting over here listening to me struggle through Chinese Mythology 101. Brian, what was that you were saying? What are you yearning for?
Oh, I'm yearning to rate these goddamn mechs.
I think we got to rate these goddamn mechs. So we have seen a lot of mechs. We didn't see all 239 mechs, but we've seen a lot of mechs. Specifically, I'm going to shout out the Nine-Tailed Fox. Obviously, that was the wood type mech that Yangwan, I almost said drove, piloted. He was in his car. The Vermillion Bird, the White Tiger, the Black Tortoise, and the Yellow Dragon. And I also have on here, you know, I put dishonorable mention because the Headless Warrior's there, but like honorable mention also, we saw the Moon Rabbit described, especially in Yangguang's POV, and the Headless Warrior, of course, was important until Ziqian fucking owned him because he was an asshole and an evil guy. So yeah, those are mechs to think about. I think also probably interesting to think about is the pilot harnesses with the spirit metal armor. You know, keep that in mind. And yeah, anything else y'all would like to consider as kind of a mech. If the second Fitbit on Pichu's wrist is a mech.
Is grain alcohol a mech?
Is green lightning a mech? Anyway, I will throw it to you first, Alice.
So I'm gonna level with you. I didn't look up any of the imagery. I will say the author did a very good job at like putting together kind of a media prompt and spending their own hard-earned money commissioning artists to get the vision in their head into an actual drawing.
Yeah, there's art on their website.
It's fucking amazing, and you should really check it out. I intentionally kept myself from that because I wanted to see what my mind did with the words. In my mind, the word chrysalis evoked more of a like sharp edges, not really looking exactly like what they're talking about. And so when I actually saw the pictures, I was very surprised at how like these look like cool designed mechs. These are just awesome fucking mechs. Yeah. And then I started thinking and I was like, well, part of this is like the intent and the people behind it. Like they take these husks and they transform the actual chi and the metal and the spirit metal into designs that they see. And then I started thinking about, you know, how the pilots of these are heroes. And I started thinking of like Pacific Rim, you know, like everybody themes their mechs and like, and I started going down that deep rabbit hole of, oh, you know, the mythological creatures. And so at first I was like, ooh, I hate that they look like real mechs. And now I'm like, I fucking love that they look like shonen warriors in this motherfucker.
Do you think this is like an Otacon situation where at some point somebody had some like truly ancient anime? Like,
there's no way they have Gunpla and that is not a thing that informed this. I feel like the Gunpla came first in this universe, but we'll have to see in book 2. So I want to talk through them real quick. I love the Nine-Tailed Fox, just like narratively, I love that as a story, but also its design is so fucking cool. I love how the mini swords. I love the Vermillion Bird with its wings. I love the Black Tortoise. I love the White Tiger. Every single one that they describe and we see and all of its evolutions are so evocative and cool. And then to have it extend to the pilots themselves, because these are an extension of the pilots. So the spirit armor that they wear being reflective, the crowns as part of it. Like, yes, most of it isn't necessary. Like, you could just leave your spirit armor in there, right? Yeah. You could just have it sit and it's a part of it and it's an interface, whatever. But the fact that, like, they only leave it there because the guards don't trust them. Everybody else wears them around like, look at me, big dick on campus, is really cool. And just every time they come up, and I'm just reminded, there is in the last scene when he shoots green laser, she sees that he's wearing one of her gloves to do that, to channel the chi.
Well, he's also wearing, oh, this hurt my heart. He's still wearing the Vermillion Bird's back brace. When he rips off his shirt, she sees that too. Oh.
And so all of this is done in such a way that, like, I was legitimately upset. Even if she was a bitch, I was sad when the Black Tortoise got fucking destroyed like it was nothing. Yeah. I was a little sad because I was like, I love the Black Tortoise. I want to see them all, you know, fighting together because I love that shit. I'm sad that the Vermillion Bird got fucking ganked, right? Like, I felt for these mechs, and these mechs are so much of this. Like, the story is built around these mechs in such a way that, like, there is no version of this story without the mechs as a central focus. So honestly, for me, dog, I love women. I love mechs.
That's the rating out of 10.
I love topping men in a pilot seat because of the different seats having different power containing.
Yeah, that's something else.
I think this might be my first 10, honestly.
Oh, shit!
I think this is a 10 for me, boys. I loved the mechs in this. I want figures of them. I want art of them. I want prints of them. I honestly want to know if it's okay for me to cosplay this. Like, seeing the main author cosplaying characters from this and being like, oh, this is a full world that I love.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that there is one book so far is pissing me off so much because I want to live in this world. I want to live with these mechs. So this is a 10.
That's powerful. Brian?
Yeah, I mean, just to be upfront, this is also a 10 for me. Like, systematically, one by one, this ticks all my boxes. I mean, when we talk about, like, mechs as an extension of the body, and the way that they, like, relate to the human form, I think I mentioned this even last recording, too, which is just that, the mythological pull of Hundwans is I've actually looked it up a little bit more since. It is both the faceless being that I mentioned last recording. It is also used in a lot of Taoist texts to talk about like a primordial chaos, like the if you think about like world egg type cosmology, this is like the void, right? Again, both meant to be featureless, indistinct. And the idea of making mech media where you take something that by virtue of its very like definition does not have human features and making it into something that does not immediately retain human features or human form, but ascends to that status via connection and growth and relationship is like everything in the world. Like this is why the genre hits for me. On top of that, they're big. Y'all, these are really big.
I will say, the commissioned art, there's literally height charts.
You know, when you hear about the yellow dragon being like resting in a mountain and having its tail all the way down into the core of the world to take chi from it, you know, that motherfucker's big. That throne room being like a cockpit is so my shit. Like, it's so good and it's so like dynamic in the way that it decides to represent those things and when it decides to make them important. Like, Shiran Jejiao understands the genre to such a fundamental degree that it is going to destroy me when the second book comes out. Because this first book destroyed me. I have experienced ego death with these mechs. They are so important to me.
Are the mechs ever so good you experience ego death?
So this is a 10.
Experienced ego death?
That's beautiful.
Yeah. 10-10, perfection. I have absolutely the narrative itself I have notes on in terms of just the way that it was kind of hamstrung by publishers. But the mechs, I cannot possibly think of anything I would like want to add or subtract to that concept. So
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna be totally honest. I was gonna give this a 9, and then you both brought such interesting takes to the table that it's pushed it to a 10, because my only gripe, I will echo everything that y'all said, add also, I love the fact that literally the piloting scheme, it can be intimate in the way that they have it set up like in the White Tiger, but it is fundamentally reflecting a structural discrimination. Like, that is so incredible. I really love that. My only gripe was going to be that the more powerful they get, the more humanoid they are, right? But the fact that it's like, it all relates very strongly to Chinese mythology and constellations that you brought up, Alice. And Brian, like, the idea that it's like humanity is being brought into this like primordial force, and that's reflected in the strength of the relationships because they can only ascend to the truly heroic form with a strong relationship and a balanced match. Those are the only people that can do this.
Yeah.
That made me like it more. Damn you, Brian. I mean, I was already like, I love this book. Obviously, I mean, legitimately, this book is like one of the conceiving pieces of media that led to this podcast, because I read it and was like, we have to cover this. It's so important to me. But y'all have brought even more to the table, and it's a 10. It's a 10. We have our first across the board. Even the Russian judge
Guys,
has given a 10.
I think it's time for us to have the discussion on what it means to have a high-scoring mech. I think I would like to propose the establishment of the Hyakushiki Club. Named after
the worst mech in Gundam.
Well, at first I thought of calling it the Golden Dragon in honor of our boy, but I think we need to establish like a group for the peak of the peak.
Yeah.
I think this has to have a title, and I wanted to put out Hyakushiki after the all gold Gundam.
It's okay. It's not that the Hyakushiki is like the perfect Gundam. It's like the Oscar.
Yeah, it's literally the
hand you one
Oscar.
of
We're
these.
handing it. It's like the
To give both Nico and listeners who might not have watched Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam kind of like
Thank you.
the
Thank you,
picture
Ken.
here, because I'm like on episode 40 of that show. I'm watching it very slowly. It's really good, by the way. Watch it. Hyakushiki is such a nothing mech that's in like 3 episodes, but because it's the first like unique thing that Char Aznable pilots after his Red Comet Zaku, because he's just piloting like everyday dude standing mechs throughout most of Zeta Gundam. He just pulls up in this solid Oscar-ass Gundam, literally for like one fight, and then for almost the rest of the series, he's just doing weird emotional like fucking spy shit on colonies. Like it's so weird and nothing, but Char Aznable has to pilot the gold mech. That's the legacy of Char Aznable. I think that's such a good way to make it like a 10. You know what I mean? It's not that the mech is cool, it's that the context makes it weirder and like,
that's the funniest part.
Yeah.
It's a nothing burger. They were literally just like,
in my opinion, it's also ugly. Yeah, it's not very good
ugly,
looking.
but it's solid gold, and Char Aznable had to pilot it.
Shirin J. Zhao, we are inviting you to the stage to accept from Char Aznable, who will be there in the sunglasses giving you this award to accept your Hyakushiki. Please accept it. I love this idea. And I also like, because I really do want to include a blurb if we create that category on the website that specifically says, excellence in all fields that the hosts find interesting, because we don't have a formal rubric.
No.
But in terms of scale.
Oh, we have a formal rubric. Cool robot.
No, I mean, like, we don't have a thing where we rate things out of 5.
Yeah, we rate them out of 10, idiot.
But, like, scale, cultural significance.
Oh, yeah, we don't do
cool
that
as
shit
fuck,
here.
Has a
No.
moment that makes you go, fuck yeah. Has structural racism metaphor.
Can
Not
I-
racism,
here-
structural discrimination metaphors. Like,
Here's the
damn.
knighting ceremony in my head for joining the Hyakushiki
Yeah.
Club. You get up on stage, Quattro Bagina is there. He has the sunglasses on, he's got the stupid 80s hair, and he's got the ascot. And you kneel before Quattro Bagina, and he takes the ascot off, and he equips it upon you. And that is the official welcoming into the Hyakushiki Club.
Congratulations to Shirin J. Zhao
For owning an ascot.
Whenever you're ready for that ceremony.
for
Look,
owning an ascot.
if Shirin J. Zhao actually wants this award, I have one of these. I will mount it on a base, and we will mail it to a P.O. box. So you have the official OSG Hyakushiki award.
Alice, I will pay for you to go buy, like, a complete, like, gold paint to use through your area if you just want to fully gold the thing out like an Oscar. Like, no part of it remains
I should just spray brush the entire thing gold. Get a little plaque. Yep, I'm in.
Yeah. Well, with that said, and with our first ever 10 across the board, I mean, shout-outs to Promare, honestly, you're so close. Promare is like, so you know in beauty pageants where, like, the girl gets crowned and then, like, the runner-up is, like, crying and hugging her and being like, you deserved it, you're so good. I feel like that's Promare.
Yeah,
it's real.
All of Studio Trigger is hugging Shirin J. Zhao right now with the ascot.
Premiere didn't get it because it was only the 2 of them.
Yeah.
We had the triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We just
the
needed to
triangles
go-
did it. And Premier had its time as the throne keeper of the top
Yeah.
rating. It had
Yeah,
its time
it
in
did.
in the sun.
Honestly, I want to see if anything lives up to this. That is where
Yeah.
my mindset is I'm
Yeah.
like, this is now so peak in my mind.
Yeah.
Of like, good luck, everybody else.
Yeah. And it was a book. I'm like so proud that I brought this for you, Alice, that you read.
Yeah, you have to officially have a book as good as this as your next book. So
Fuck. Anyway, with that said, we're going to go ahead and go to break. And after that, we will have a fun and educational game.
I love education.
Hello. It's Nico here in the break. We don't sell ad space on this show, pay to advertise it, or plan to do either for the foreseeable future, because this is a hobby for us. We thrive not on money, but on people engaging with the show and enjoying it. Though, to be fair, we do also need money, but that's what our day jobs are for. Word of mouth is the only way OSG spreads, whether on social media or when you subject a friend to us for 2 hours, presumably while they're locked in a car with you and too afraid to bail out. And as far as driving our discoverability through contemptible algorithms, rating the podcast 5 stars on your podcatcher and leaving a review if you can is the best way you can help us. Consider taking a moment to do so if you haven't already, and we may read it on the show. Like this very kind review from Gallic Silene, I hope I have that right, Gallic Silene, on Apple Podcasts. They left a review that said, "Really fun show. I've only listened to a few episodes so far and might save some more for once I've seen the media they're talking about to avoid spoilers." Very fair move. But I'm really enjoying this show so far. I love hearing friends talk about things they love, and I love passionate but ultimately low-stakes arguments about mech stuff. It's clear the group is having a lot of fun making this show, and it's contagious. Looking forward to keeping listening. Also, you're not alone. I also thought a stir was a fake word. Thank you. I'm sure Alice will be very validated by that. But seriously, thank you, Galaxy Eileen. That really means a lot. And hey, this is our 20th mainline episode. That's kind of a big milestone for podcasts. We couldn't have made it this far without listeners like you. So thank you.
All right, welcome back from the break. I want to play a game.
Okay, Jigsaw.
Yep, it's me, Jigsaw Billy Man, and I want to play a game with you. Our game is called Joe Province Naturalists. In our last Iron Widow episode, I quizzed you on the interactions between the 5 traditional Chinese elements, the wuxing. Throughout the book, you've read descriptions of huanduans, chrysalises, and key-type interactions. It's time to put all of that to the test. We've sent out scouting drones into Joe Province and are tracking huanduans scattered from the big battle. Listen, it doesn't matter that all the sages got killed. The grind does not stop. You are now 2 junior strategists getting a live feed, and I need you to identify the chi type of each huanduan that you see on camera. And for a bonus point, tell me the dominant chi type we should look for in a chrysalis to send after it.
Oh, shit.
Okay, first off,
Yeah.
I need to establish that I am a woman disguised as a man who is acting like a strategist because they wouldn't let a woman be it. And I am like constantly fucking up trying to cover for myself.
You've got the grease smeared on your face to try to look like a beard.
Yeah, I got
and
the
it, like,
full
really
thing.
isn't working, but
I'm like, hey guys. Then it's screaming like, ah!
To state this plainly, I'm going to describe a huanduan to y'all. You are going to tell me what chi type you think it is. If you get it right, for a bonus point, you can tell me which chi type would be effective against it.
Got it.
If you get that wrong, then your fellow junior strategist can try to steal the bonus point. This first round is what I call the optimal round. You'll find out what that means later. But to start, Alice.
Hello.
The huanduan on your screen is hard to make out because it blends into its surroundings very well. It's been attacked a few times, but has proven very resilient. What chi type do you think this huanduan is?
Now, first off, I want to say thank you for the sages giving us no reference documents or giving us any chance to check. We just have to
Sink or
know.
swim. Sink or swim.
Sink or swim. So it's resistant to all attacks so far.
It seems like it has bounced back and been resilient to attacks.
Been resilient, bounced back. Thinking that's a water type.
Unfortunately not. Brian, do you want to take a stab at this one?
They're gonna execute me. They know.
Yeah, they're gonna.
Metal.
It is not a metal type either.
Damn.
It is actually a wood type.
Ooh.
That was what I was going to go with secondarily.
You're good. That was more of an obscure one. The clue there, it's hard to make out because it blends into its surroundings. It is blending in with the forest. I didn't want to literally just say it's green because I feel like that's a giveaway. Okay,
Yeah.
Alice, knowing now that it is a wood type, I'm still going to let you try for the bonus question. What type would be most effective to send after it of chrysalis?
I know what you're thinking, right? We have to burn the forest down. It's the only way. However, I recall from a book I read that fire is good against metal. So something else must be good against wood. Water good against fire. Metal good against wood. Axe! Axe from last time. Use the metal.
There you go. That is 1 point. You get the bonus point there. Yes, metal would be the ideal type to send after wood. All right, Brian, the huanduan on your screen is a little hard to make out because the camera drone is kind of close. It's a lot larger than the others around it, and its eyes glow with a sort of pale light. what type do you think this Hunduin is?
Oh, is this one metal? I was just gonna say metal until I get it right.
Unfortunately not.
Fuck.
Alice, what type do you think this Hunduin is?
What's the type that he shot out of his fingers?
What, Iju?
Yeah.
Well, he has wood and earth chi.
I'm gonna say wood.
Incorrect.
Fuck!
This is an earth type. Earth types are very large and bulky. It's mentioned in the book that earth type Hunduins are just big chonkers.
Damn it.
That's a specific language that was used. No worries. I was a little worried this game might be too hard. It's okay.
I didn't have a scholarly boy to give me his iPad. I really... I don't know how I got into this job.
For the bonus point, I hope I get this right. Oh my god. I'm sending a wood type chrysalis after it.
Brian, you are correct.
Oh, thank god.
Wood type is the ideal to send after an earth type Hunduin. All right, Alice, back to you. The Hunduin on your screen is smaller than the others around it, but also moving faster than them. It's darkly colored and seems to be emitting some sort of aura. What chi type do you think this Hunduin is?
I'm sweating at this point. There is sweat coming. The grease stains are coming down my face. I'm 0 for 2 on identifying types, but I know fast and small, that reminds me of a metal type.
You are incorrect.
I'm fucked.
And you are going to be executed. Brian, what type do you think this is?
Water?
Yes, you are correct. Water types are the smallest but also the fastest Hunduins and chrysalises. Water is also leaky, which is why it emits an aura. The black tortoise is mentioned to be emitting an aura, and its chi color is black, so that would be why it's darkly colored. All right, for a bonus point, what chi type of chrysalis are we sending after it, Brian?
Shit. Earth?
You are correct. Earth type is the most effective against a water type, as seen in the yellow dragon just fucking wrapping that water emperor up in a big hug and just fucking assimilating it.
I want someone to hold me like the yellow dragon.
All right, back over to Brian. The Hunduin on your screen is causing problems with a chrysalis already in the field, the white tiger. They seem like a poor match for it, especially as it launches powerful chi blasts at them. What chi type do you think this Hunduin is?
Good. Fire?
You are correct.
I might live today.
Fire types are strong against metal, which is what the white tiger is. They also release the strongest chi blasts.
You're so good at this.
All right, Brian, what type would you send against this fire type Hunduin?
Walter.
That is also correct.
Walter.
Yeah, water would be the ideal type to send against this one. Now we are on to what I call the B tier round. You could call it the bonus tier round, but it's not actually a bonus. It literally means, uh-oh, our good pilots are on rest rotation.
Oh, good for them.
For this challenge round, we've identified the Hunduin chi type for you, but the best chi type chrysalis will be unavailable. So, you know, if you saw a water Hunduin, you couldn't send an earth Hunduin after it. Unfortunately, the Emperor is busy napping, acting kind of disaffected, learning about 200 years worth of sea dramas, you know?
Yeah, he's got a lot to watch.
So you can't send the ideal type against them. You'll need to pick a viable second best chi type to send after the Hunduin from 3 I will give you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Alice, you are first up. The Hunduin on your screen is a white-shelled and very pointy metal type. Your best pick to go against it would have been fire, but you have to choose from water, wood, or earth.
Not sending wood, because I know it's weak. In my mind, this is all a circle, so I'm trying to think of, like, what is past. We're metal, fire, water type. I send the water type.
That is correct. Water is good, and water rusts metal.
I'm in it now.
Yeah. You're in it. You're logged in. See, you were looking weak in the first round. The sages were looking at you. The senior strategists were looking at you. But now you're like, listen, I know the subtypes.
Oh shit, did I bind my tits? I look down, it's flat no matter what. I say, shit.
Damn it. All right, Brian. The Hunduin on your screen is another fast and chilly water type. Your best pick to go against it would be an earth type, but you have to choose from fire, metal, or wood.
Wood?
That is correct.
Yes!
Wood saps water because obviously plants use water to grow. So that is a good pick.
Let's go.
All right. Alice.
Hello.
The Hunduin on your screen is another bulky and slow-moving earth type. Your best pick to go against it would have been wood, but you have to choose from water, fire, or metal.
Okay. So at this point, I realize that I probably am going to get found out and get executed, but I know I hate the pilot of that Earth type mech. So if I send them out, they'll get... Wait.
Oh, no. The Huanduin is Earth type. So you need to send out a pilot of some other type.
If I send out water, they'll get fucked.
So you send out water?
Metal. I send out metal. I don't want to die.
That is a little peek behind the curtain. There are actually 2 options on each of these questions which would apply. Metal is an option on this. Water would have been ideal, because water can help break up earth and muddy earth.
Ooh.
But metal can also be used in picks and shovels and stuff to break up earth. So metal is a perfectly good choice. So in your spite, you have made a good strategic call. There you go.
I'm like pissed he's alive.
Yeah, he's like, thanks, I really thrived. And you're like, God. Brian, our final question. The Huanduin on your screen is a volatile fire type. Your best pick to go against it would have been water, but you have to choose from metal, wood, or earth.
Earth.
That's it, Brian. You send out the earth and it smothers that fire the way that you should always make sure to smother fires when you are camping.
Leave no trace.
Only you can prevent forest fires. Well, Alice, you, I don't think you're going to be executed.
Yes!
You know, even junior strategists have got to learn, and you made a really good strategic call out of spite. And I think probably because it was out of spite, you looked very confident, so you're not going to be executed. But you did only get 3 points. Brian is getting probably promoted to a regular strategist with a strong 7 points. Congratulations, yes. Brian.
I gotta go get waterboarded with grain alcohol.
Yeah! Get waterboarded, baby!
Oh, you're gonna be one of those evil strategists, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian's like, I've already decided I'm gonna be evil.
All right, valid.
All right. In place of a letter this time, I am using my overwhelming force to assert control of the podcast and declaring we will instead acknowledge a Twitter thread. This link will be on the podcast page for this episode. Also, you can probably see it on socials and share it on Twitter. Twitter user...
Wait, is this the Twitter thread?
Yeah, this is the Twitter thread. I immediately was like, nice, I don't have to write a letter. I'm kidding. Twitter user @Solidus, aka, reached out about our Pat Labor 2 episode and then made a great thread about other symbolism and visual themes in Pat Labor 2, especially with regards to the mediation of sensory information for human subjects of the film.
Yeah, it's a really good thread.
Went out, got really good screenshots, like, go read this thread. It is truly excellent. And then also connected it back to animals, talking about the absence of mediation for the animal characters in it, talking about how, like, they are getting more direct input from the events of the movie than the humans are, who are having everything mediated for them through screens, through glasses, through displays, through all this different stuff. It's a truly excellent thread.
They brought the receipts, too. I just want to say, like, some of those I was like, oh, shit.
I also love that it ends with a thorough damnation of Mamoru Oshii as a liar, and also a really fun image of him looking kind of sad at a movie award or something.
It's really good. All I have to say about it is Team The Birds Are Back stays winning. The birds mean something. I loved reading through the analysis, and I encourage our listeners to do the same. Go check out the thread. And I would say, again, like, with the damning of Mamoru Oshii at the end, the thing is, it's like, no beef with him.
No, we love Oshii at the pod.
we love Oshii here, but, like, the author of anything can try to write with absolutely no themes or symbolism. But the whole thing about themes and symbolism is that they are between the lines interpretations of the text coming from the readers. I'm sorry, you can't escape it. You could write a whole story about a guy in one room alone with nothing in it, and I'm sorry, there would be themes of isolation, and the emptiness of the room would symbolize some shit. Like, you cannot get away from it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and you would not be able to make the curtains anything but blue, so... I'm
sorry. You can't get away from it. What are y'all's thoughts?
I love what @Solidus, aka, said, and while I do, in my heart of hearts, know that you're correct, Nico, I have to stay true to the character I've built on this podcast and say, the author said it doesn't mean anything, it doesn't mean anything.
Alice's strong commitment to kayfabe is why she is the CEO.
Yeah.
Brian, your thoughts?
Yeah, so this thread, just to kind of give it a little bit of animation here, is just, it is mostly about, like Nico said, the contrast between the way that military threats to human life are mediated through screens and through camera lenses and through VHSs in this movie, which is a great point. Again, there are so many screenshots that reinforce this. It's really, really good. My favorite one of them is where he says, the scene that really spells this out is the JSDF soldiers reacting to the fake gas threat. The soldiers panic, gas mask on, literally mediating the air they breathe, and unable to detect the false threat, whereas the dog barking and staying barking at them reflects the truth about the harmless gas.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Check it out.
Really excellent. Check it out. We'll have it linked. Thank you, Solidus aka, for being a listener, for enjoying the episode, and for that great insight. Like, it was a truly great thread to read through, and I'm glad somebody else is as fucking symbolism brained as, well, some of us are.
Still think Pat Labor 2 is great. That's all.
And you know what? Pat Labor 2 is great. You know, if you've already watched it, go rewatch it. That's our stance.
Yeah, and listen to our episode on it if you haven't also, because that is interestingly a foundational episode of the podcast. It's like in the first 3 or 4, I think.
Yeah.
And it still remains one of our better acclaimed episodes to this day. So
yeah, if you were about to start the Price of Smiles 3-parter,
only real ones got through the Price of Smiles 3-parter. I'm gonna establish that.
If we ever make merch, I do want to make a sticker that says I survived the Price of Smiles 3-parter. 4 people will buy it, but I think it'll be worth it. All right. That is this episode of On the Shoulders of Giants, where we discussed part 2 of Iron Widow. Any parting thoughts, y'all?
Jiren J. Zhao, my DMs are open. I want to say thank you for everything you did. And thank you for this, and continue to post ridiculous cosplays on the internet for me to consume. Thank you so much.
I stan my ironically anemic genderless monarch.
And I just want to say, first of all, drop the shearing cut. Please drop it. And second of all, hey, we got our pre-orders in, by which I mean me, but also go pre-order Heavenly Tyrant. Support this author and this work. It's great.
Is there a way they can do that with supporting a local bookstore?
Yes, actually, thank you so much, Alice. On our front page, and we will also have a link on the episode page directly, we do have a bookshop.org link where you can buy the book through basically our podcast picked list, and that helps benefit us a little bit, but also it goes through an independent bookstore. It will benefit an independent bookstore, and if you're gonna have to buy books, don't go to Amazon. Please, God, don't go to Amazon. They control everything else. Resist the power. Go to bookshop.org.
I also want to give mad shout outs. You can ask your library to carry a book if they aren't going to get it, and that also helps the author because they buy a copy. You can also ask your local bookstore to order it for you from their distributor, helping your local bookstore and getting us away from some of the online shopping that's really taken a hold of us as people.
And also, I remember from their website, if you run a bookstore and you get these books in, you can reach out to Shirin J. Zhao through their website, and you can get signed book plates to put in the book, so you can have signed copies. So, yay!
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 Yeah, I don't know why I said yay. Yippee! Books! Yippee! Thanks for listening. Pilots, remember, you can reach out for advice from the team at our email, questions@osgpod.com, and non-pilots can send general questions or feedback to the same address. Also, sometimes if you post a really good Twitter thread, we may just grab it. You can also catch up with us on social media, obviously. The links are in the description for updates and more. Make sure to check back in 2 weeks when we'll be discussing Metallic Rouge. Until then, goodbye. I love you.
Goodbye. I love you.
Goodbye. I love you from the mind realm.
Oh my god. Are we in the mind realm together?
We're in the mind realm together.
I'm choking Nico out. I'm trying to kill Nico.